Chapter 6:15. Time flew, and the smoke in the blood-red abyss had dissipated. The lava had turned into rocks, and the surface temperature had gradually returned to normal. Only the smoke rising from the fiery holes in the rock layer reminded people that this was the blood-red abyss, the abyss that had destroyed the entire Hundred Ridge city. There were many legends about what had happened in the blood-red abyss. Some said that the empire's empress, Qin Yin, and the princess, Tang Xiaoxi, were buried in the blood-red abyss. Some also said that Qin Yin had not died, but had ascended to the heaven realm. At least, this was what Feng Jixing, Qin Yan, and the others said. Otherwise, once the news of Qin Yin's death spread, the world would definitely be in chaos. However, there were also people who said that a peerless expert was sealed in the blood-red abyss, a young expert who had changed the history of the entire continent. His name was Lin Muyu. However, no one could find where Lin Muyu was. The only place that could be found was in the center of the blood-red abyss, where there was a 100-meter-tall rocky mountain. Some people said that Lin Muyu had sealed himself in the rocky mountain. He was waiting for the return of his true love. However, these seemed to be just legends. Many of them were fabricated by busybodies to be used as a topic for people to talk about after meals. Smoke and clouds lingered, and the majestic rocky mountain stood in the blood-red abyss like a spectacle. No one could understand why the dust in the blood-red abyss would gather together and form a mountain. In the depths of the rocky mountain, a young figure was still kneeling on one knee. In his hand was a starry sharp sword that had lost its original luster. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed, and Lin Muyu seemed to have truly become a part of the mountain. On the 7th day of the 7th month in the year 7736 of the Empire calendar, Feng Jixing took drastic measures and surrounded Sunset City. He then took over the granaries of the dozens of counties south of Sunset City. After surrounding Sunset City for 4 months, Ding Shi was finally defeated due to a lack of rations. Nearly half of the 300,000 soldiers defending Sunset City were killed. Ding Shi led the rest of his troops out of the Swift White Province and headed for the southernmost Bright Mountain Province of the Shattered Cauldron Realm continent. In the same month, Wei Qiu led the Genshin Battalion to attack Lingkong Province. Xiangyu mobilized his troops from Hundred Ridge City, and the Imperial Army recovered Lingnan Province, Lingkong Province, and Swift White Province of the Iha Kingdom, taking 70% of the Iha Kingdom's land. Ding Shi and Long Qianlin retreated step by step with their 200,000 soldiers. The empire was too powerful. The empire was too powerful. The empire was too powerful. They retreated to defend Mingshan Province, and relied on Shangyang City to fight with the empire. On the 12th of August, the empire's army gathered on the plains to the north of Mingshan Province. The grand army of 600,000 was astonishing. Under the scorching sun, the army advanced slowly, bypassing a chain of mountain peaks. The sacred peak was where Luo Lan's 7 world palaces were located. The sacred peak was shrouded in mist, and it looked like a celestial abode. Wei Qiu looked in the direction of the 7 world palaces and said coldly, "That old dog Luo Lan helped the Iha kingdom conquer Lanyan City. He probably didn't expect this day to come. Why don't we surround the 7 world palaces and kill Luo Lan with 1,000,000 soldiers?" "There's no need." Feng Jixing waved his hand lightly and said, "Luo Lan has done all sorts of bad things. An evil god like him will be punished by the heavens. We've been traveling for days, and our soldiers are already exhausted. Besides, the terrain of the sacred peak is dangerous, and it's not conducive for an army to fight. Instead, the cultivators of the 7 world palaces will have a great advantage. It's not wise to attack the mountain now. If Luo Lan is courting death, he'll naturally come down to deal with us. Otherwise, there's no need for us to provoke him." Wei Qiu nodded. "Are there any new developments in the Crimson Abyss?" Feng Jixing asked. Wei Qiu said, "The Rocky Mountain is getting thicker and thicker, and the people we sent could no longer find Commander Yu. In the blink of an eye, a few months have passed, and Commander Yu hasn't eaten or drunk anything. I really don't know what to do." Feng Jixing sighed and slowly urged his horse. "Yu is blessed by the heavens. I hope he's fine. Besides, Yu has Fushi's divine power, and he shouldn't be tortured to death by hunger. Moreover, he's already in a state of hibernation. I didn't expect the dignified #1 general of the empire to seal himself in the blood abyss. Wei Chou murmured, Commander Yu's love for Her Highness Yin is deep, and I'm afraid it's not something we can understand. That's right. Feng Jixing looked at the endless army on the main road and said in a low voice, Where's the herald? The sound of horse hooves came closer, and a herald respectfully said, Marshal, what's the matter? Order Xiangyu's main army to start searching for water once they enter the Mingshan province. In addition, inform Commander Su Yu to ensure food supplies. Shangyang City is incomparably sturdy, and that old thief Qin Yi won't give up on this piece of land so easily. There's going to be a protracted battle below Shangyang City, and we need to make sufficient preparations. Yes. Feng Jixing looked at Wei Chou and asked, How are the preparations for the magic crystal cannons? The mountains are high and far. Wei Chou frowned, and the magic crystal cannons are so heavy. Even if we dismantle them, we won't be able to transport too many. There are only 10 magic crystal cannons traveling with us, and we should use them wisely. Understood. Feng Jixing took a deep breath. Whether or not we can blast open the iron gates of Shangyang City depends on the magic crystal cannons. It's all up to you, Wei Chou. When Yu isn't here, the Longdan army camp will be relying on you and Sidu Senior. Yes, Marshal, please rest assured. In Shangyang City, the setting sun shone on the ancient city, and the leaves of the pear trees swayed in the wind. In the palace in the city, Qin Yi sat there with an ashen face. Below him, Long Qianlin, Ding Shi, Man Ning, and the other officials were all present, but none of them said anything. At this stage of the war, what else could they say? The entire Iha country was almost powerless to reverse the situation. Is there no one who can defend Shangyang City? Qin Yi said coldly. Everyone looked at each other, but no one said anything. After a while, Man Ning cupped his hands and said, Commander-in-Chief, this old official thinks that we still have close to 300,000 soldiers, plus the 150,000 soldiers of Mingshan province. With close to 500,000 soldiers, we can still fight the empire. Moreover, the Iha country has won the hearts of the people. We can also mobilize the civilians to help us fight. Feng Jixing is a benevolent general. I believe he won't attack the civilians. Is that so? Qin Yi couldn't help but laugh. Ding Shi said, Commander-in-Chief, our 300,000 soldiers are exhausted, and most of the 150,000 soldiers of Mingshan province are newly recruited soldiers with no fighting strength at all. But the imperial army is different. The 350,000 soldiers of Qihai City under Feng Jixing are all elites, and Wei Chou's Longdan army camp has also been reorganized with 50,000 soldiers. Together with the elite soldiers of Xiangyu, Su Yu, and Luo Exine, their 600,000 soldiers are all elites. If we take the initiative to fight, we will definitely lose. Qin Yi felt a chill in his heart. Then what should we do? What do you think, Commander Long? If we stubbornly defend, can we defend Shangyang City? I'm afraid it will be very difficult. Long Qianlin stood up and cupped his hands and said, Can you imagine, Commander-in-Chief, how sturdy the steel walls are? Even the tens of meters thick walls were blasted apart by the magic crystal cannons of the Longdan army camp. How sturdy can the walls of Shangyang City be? I'm afraid they will also collapse at the first blow. If we stubbornly defend, we will definitely become a pile of dregs under the magic crystal cannons. Qin Yi was startled. Then what does Commander Long think we should do? Outsmart them. How do we outsmart them? Long Qianlin smiled. Do you still remember how Lin Muyu annihilated the Thunder Chong army in the demon-slaying valley? A series of cannons? That's right. Long Qianlin said, According to my conjecture, the shells of the magic crystal cannons can detonate with each other. The explosion of one magic crystal cannon will trigger a series of explosions from the other magic crystal cannons. In this case, as long as we find an opportunity to sneak into the Longdan army camp and use one of the magic crystal cannons to bombard their ammunition storage camp, we will be able to destroy the magic crystal cannons of the Longdan army camp in one fell swoop. As he spoke, Long Qianlin smiled and said, We need time to buy time. The Imperial Army has only just arrived in the Southern Ridge a few months ago, so they don't have enough rations. Moreover, the Southern Ridge Province and the Swift White Province have just gone through a war. This year's harvest is not good, so they can't produce much rations. How much rations do the 600,000 soldiers of the Empire eat every day? Most of their rations have to be transported from the Northern Ridge. As long as we delay them for about 2 months, we will naturally be able to delay them until Feng Jixing runs out of rations. At that time, we can send a letter to order His Highness Qin Huan and his 100,000 men to attack. Working together, it will not be difficult to destroy the Empire's 600,000 soldiers. This. Qin Yi was wild with joy and said, "Martial Long of the Iha nation is truly a gift from the heavens." Then, according to Martial Long, how should we destroy the magic crystal cannons in the Longdan army camp? Long Qianlin said, "I remember. Marquis Manning has a distant nephew who is a chiliarch in the Longdan army camp. If we bribe him with money and power, he should be swayed. After all, he is only a chiliarch in the Longdan army camp. If we promise him the position of one of the 7 marshals of the Empire, I believe he will not be able to refuse. However, we will have to trouble Marquis Manning to take the risk and make a trip there." Qin Yi looked at Manning and said, "Marquis Manning, what do you think?" The fat on Manning's body trembled. He stood up and cupped his fists, saying, "This old subject's dying body can serve the Iha nation. This is my honor." Qin Yi smiled. "Don't worry. If this matter is successful, Marquis Manning will no longer be Marquis Manning. I will confer you the title of King Ning." Manning could not help but be ecstatic. "Yes, thank you, Commander. This old subject will do his best." "Go." "Yes." Under the support of 2 guards, Manning's fat body walked out of the palace step by step. Not long after, Manning disguised himself as a merchant and slowly left Shangyang City in a carriage, heading straight for the Imperial Army's camp in the distance. The setting sun bathed the earth in a layer of fresh blood. This was the final battle between the Empire and the Iha nation. Whoever emerged victorious would become the last ruler of this land. Both sides would spare no effort in this battle to the death. Chapter 616. Bam, bam, bam. Bolts of purple lightning shot into the sky, bringing with them a mushroom cloud. Violent shockwaves engulfed the Longdan army camp's magic crystal cannon battalion. Many soldiers didn't even have the chance to scream before they were obliterated by the light of the magic crystal cannons. Nearly 100 consecutive explosions rang out. This cannon blast had destroyed all the magic crystal cannons in the Longdan army camp. Above Shangyang City, Qin Yi, Long Qianlin, Ding Shi, and the others looked at the soaring purple light in the distance. It was like a catastrophe. Qin Yi clapped his hands and laughed, while Long Qianlin frowned. It wasn't hard to imagine that if all these cannonballs had landed on Shangyang City's walls, the city would have become history. Ding Shi was silent, his expression solemn. Long Qianlin's plan had succeeded, but what could it change? It would only delay the destruction of the Iha nation by a few months. Once the new magic crystal cannons from Lanyan City were shipped to the front lines, Shangyang City would still be reduced to ruins. If I could use these magic crystal cannons, I wouldn't have to worry about the world. Qin Yi sighed. Beside him, Manning said with a smile, "Commander-in-Chief, it's not difficult to obtain the magic crystal cannons. As long as they have the will of the people, they can be bought." It's said that the magic crystal cannons were manufactured by a man called Qin Xiling in the imperial capital. As long as we find Qin Xiling and reward him, we won't have to worry about the magic crystal cannons. Qin Yi said with a smile, "The Sunset King is right, but the war is at a stalemate now. There's no time to go to Lanyan City to invite Qin Xiling. Let's wait until the war is over." The Imperial Army's camp was already in chaos. Wei Chou carried his sword and led a line of guards toward the magic crystal cannons. He couldn't help but feel a pang in his heart when he saw the flames from afar. The magic crystal cannons were finished. Not long after, all the generals gathered in the main tent. Feng Jixing held the commander's seal and looked at the crowd indifferently. This explosion? I presume our magic crystal cannons are no more? Yes. Wei Chou cupped his fists and said with a livid face, this subordinate was incompetent and allowed one of my Kiliarchs to fire a magic crystal cannon without permission, causing a series of explosions in the warehouse. All the cannonballs were destroyed. Sigh. Feng Jixing said, you can't be blamed for this. We need to find out who did this. We need to come up with a long-term plan. Tell me, since we don't have the magical crystal cannons anymore, how are we going to take Shangyang City? Su Er said, the walls of Shangyang City are 20 meters tall and are extremely sturdy. The gates are made of pure iron and are 1 meter thick. Siege chariots are of no use at all. Add to that the fact that Shangyang City is supported by nearly 100 wealthy provinces, and it will be very difficult to take the city by force. We have to attack even if it's difficult. Xiang Yu frowned and said, I suggest that we start attacking the city tomorrow. Every legion will attack the city for 3 days, taking turns to attack. This will tire out the defenders of Shangyang City. Then, we will send small groups of soldiers to infiltrate Shangyang City through the 2 mountain ranges and spread rumors that Qin Yi intends to abandon the city. This will disrupt their morale and cause Shangyang City to collapse on its own. Alright, that's the only way. Feng Jixing looked at Wei Chou and said, when will the next batch of magical crystal cannons be delivered? In a month. We need a heavy escort. We can't afford to make any more mistakes. Don't worry, Marshal. This subordinate will personally escort them. Good. Feng Jixing looked at the starry sky outside the tent and couldn't help but sigh. If only you were here. Su Yu, Wei Chou, Sidu Sen, Sidu Shui, Zhang Wei, and the others were immediately moved. Yes, if Lin Muyu were here, perhaps she would have a brilliant plan, and they wouldn't have to attack the city by force. Attacking by force meant that they would have to use the flesh and blood of the imperial soldiers to forge a new throne. Even though no one knew who would sit on this throne. Late at night, Feng Jixing still couldn't sleep with the military book in his hands. At this moment, a guard's voice came from outside. Marshal, Divine Marquis Yifan, Commander Su Yu, Commander Wei Chou, Commander Qin Yan, Commander Xiang Yu, and Commander Luo Xan request an audience. These 4 people were the pillars of their respective armies. Ever since Tang Lan and Su Muyun died, and Tang Xiaoxi's whereabouts were unknown, these people were the true pillars of the empire. Come in. There must be an important matter for them to come in the middle of the night. After the group of people entered the tent, Feng Jixing put down the military book, stood up, and cupped his fists. May I know what brings all of you here in the middle of the night? Everyone looked at each other, seemingly trying to shirk responsibility. Finally, Su Yu stepped forward, cupped her fists, and said, General Feng, you are the current marshal of the empire. The Empress's final edict was to confer you the title of marshal. You is sealed in the Crimson Abyss, and you are the person with the highest military authority in the empire. We would like to ask, what plans do you have for the empire's future? Feng Jixing couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. Su Yu's meaning was self-evident. Now that Qin Yi was dead, the empire needed a new ruler. A country couldn't be without a ruler. Xiang Yu cupped his fists and said, ever since the empire entered Lingnan, we have been winning every battle. Now that the empress has fallen, the empire needs a new ruler. General Feng, the empire needs a new ruler. Ruler? Feng Jixing replied somewhat woodenly. Su Er said, General Feng, we are all important ministers of the empire. Although Xiao Yin didn't leave behind any words before she left, I'm sure Xiao Yin also doesn't want to see the empire fall apart. Everyone, what do you think? Feng Jixing said softly. He knew that the future ruler of the empire depended on who these people were willing to support. Xiang Yu frowned and said, we need a legitimate ruler with the bloodline of a ruler. Now, there aren't many people with the bloodline of the Qin family. His Highness Qin Yan is the person with the bloodline closest to Her Highness Yin. The other people are Qin Yong, Qin Jiao, and the others from Prince Zhong's residence. In my opinion, we should support Qin Yan as the new ruler of Great Qin. What does General Feng think? Feng Jixing didn't reply, but looked towards Qin Yan and asked, Ah Yan, are you willing to be the ruler of Great Qin? Qin Yen stared blankly and hurriedly said, I'm not willing to steal my cousin's empire. Moreover, I don't know anything about the matters of an emperor. I don't even know how to face the imperial court. If I become the ruler, I will only harm the empire and the people. I hope that General Feng will reconsider. Feng Jixing sighed. Are there any other candidates? There is. Zheng Yifan stroked his beard and said, Lin Muyu, sealed in the blood-red abyss, is the foster son of the previous emperor and Her Highness Yin's foster brother. His military exploits are outstanding and unprecedented. His cultivation has also reached perfection. I'm afraid there is no one more suitable than him to be the new ruler of the Qin Empire. Zheng Yifan was the only old official present, so his words naturally carried a lot of weight. Feng Jixing nodded and said, It's just that He willingly sealed himself in the blood-red abyss. Even if I don't ask, everyone should understand that you will not accept it. Her Highness Yin went to the 100 Ridge City alone and was killed. This matter has already made you feel guilty for half a year. If you were to ascend to the throne at this time, Divine Marquis, do you think you will agree? Zheng Yifan couldn't help but wring his hands and said, That's right, the difficulty lies in the fact that Lin Muyu is a person who is loyal to his feelings. Feng Jixing looked at everyone with a burning gaze and said, We are all the commanders of the empire and are all loyal to Her Highness Yin. But Yu is still bitterly guarding the blood-red abyss, waiting for Her Highness Yin's return. Shouldn't we wait? I think. The Qin Empire will no longer support an emperor and will only confer titles of nobles. We will guard this 10,000 miles of territory and wait for the day when Her Highness Yin returns. How about it? Everyone cupped their fists. After a while, Su'er said, Then, there should be a person who can hold the power alone, right? Feng Jixing nodded. After we break into Shangyang City and kill Qin Yi, Long Qianlin, and the other enemies, I will personally go to the blood-red abyss and ask you to ascend to the throne. If he is unwilling, then we will have to trouble Ai Yan. Qin Yan was stunned. Feng Jixing's palm lightly covered Qin Yan's shoulder, and he said, This is your responsibility. There's no need to decline. None of us here have the qualifications to proclaim ourselves emperors. We are all waiting for the day Her Highness Yin returns. Bailing City. Clouds and smoke shrouded the sky above the blood-red abyss. A group of fast horses galloped over, and a group of cultivators dismounted. Each of them had the emblem of the 7 world palaces on their arms. In the air, an old man stepped on clouds. It was Luo Lan, who had already cultivated to the peak of the hierarch realm. Luo Lan was a cautious person. As one of the state advisors of the Iha country, he had gone into hiding after the Iha country's defeat. He also knew that he could not defy the will of the heavens. The Iha country had suffered a crushing defeat. Under such circumstances, defying the will of the heavens was undoubtedly harming himself. This is the blood-red abyss? Luo Lan laughed coldly, looking disdainfully at the abyss. A group of disciples jumped into the abyss. There was no lack of saints among them. All of them held weapons in their hands and walked carefully in the abyss. In the distance, a rock mountain stood tall. A disciple hurriedly said, Celestial Sovereign, look. That is the rock mountain that Lin Muyu sealed himself in. His body is within that rock mountain. Follow me. Yes. The group of people flew over. When they arrived at the foot of the rock mountain, they found that the rock mountain was extraordinarily big. It was very majestic, and there were patches of green on it. There were many fragments of Qin Yin's divine essence in this blood-red abyss, but they are all gone now. Lin Muyu must have taken them away. A disciple said angrily. Lin Muyu said that he would wait here for Qin Yin's return. Return? Luo Lan could not help but laugh coldly. I'm afraid he won't have that chance. Today Luo Lan, will break the mountain and take his life. I will make sure that Lin Muyu will never recover. All of you, get out of my way. I'm going to attack. Today, I will send Lin Muyu and Qin Yin to hell together. Yes. The disciples dispersed one by one. Luo Lan stepped in the air and suddenly let out a low roar. Suddenly, golden light flowed around his arms. When he put his palms together above his head, his divine power condensed into a peerless divine saber. It was the power of Luo Lan's martial soul, demon blood saber. Boom! The ground shook and the top half of the rock mountain was smashed by Luo Lan's saber. Again! Luo Lan roared and struck again. Bang! Rocks flew everywhere, and the stone mountain instantly cracked open from the center. However, a powerful force surged within the mountain. Chapter 617. Peng, peng, peng. The stone mountain crumbled and flowers bloomed. Under Luo Lan's second attack, the boulder shattered inch by inch and almost turned into dust. Amidst the dust, a young man wearing a tattered white robe and armor knelt on one knee. His hand was holding a dim long sword and his head was lowered as he knelt there silently without saying a word. However, golden rays of Fuxi divine energy formed a huge self-defense shield above his head, protecting his body from Luo Lan's demonic blood blade. Ha! Luo Lan laughed arrogantly. Lin Muyu, you really didn't die. The disciples of the seven world palaces were on high alert as they took out their weapons and surrounded Lin Muyu from afar. Who didn't know Lin Muyu's strength? He was just a holy king, but he had two martial souls, the seven luminaries' profound energy, star arts, and other secret arts. His strength was comparable to a peak holy king, and he even had the ability to challenge a hierarch. They had to be wary of such a person. After the dust settled, Lin Muyu finally raised his head. His face was covered in layers of stone skin, and the stone skin was connected to the moss. It looked terrifying, but the light in his eyes never changed. He looked at Luo Lan in the sky and said indifferently, Luo Lan, what are you doing here again? Luo Lan's eyes were filled with disdain as he said, I'm looking for the essence of Qin Yin's godhead fragments to recast her overgod godhead for my use. Lin Muyu, if you know what's good for you, get out of here immediately. From now on, everything that belongs to Qin Yin belongs to me, Luo Lan. Bullshit. Lin Muyu's voice was very calm as he said indifferently, this is the place where Xiao Yin rests. Get out of here with your lackeys and I can consider sparing your lives. Dream on. Luo Lan laughed loudly, you're already sealed in stone and can't even protect yourself. You still want to threaten us? Lin Muyu, Lin Muyu, you wasted the efforts of the seven luminaries demon emperor to nurture you. Look at yourself now. You're willing to seal yourself in stone for a woman. You're dreaming if you think you can conquer the heaven realm with such ambition. You should just die obediently. Hell is the most suitable place for you in the three realms. Lin Muyu did not say a word. She struggled with all her might, only to find that most of her body had turned into rock and had become one with the earth in the depths of the crimson abyss. Her veins were also connected to thin vines. Now, it was as if her entire body was tied up there, unable to move. You piece of trash, take my blade. Luo Lan roared, his eyes glowing fiercely. He took out the demon blood blade and his divine power surged. He suddenly slashed down from the sky, using at least 30% of his divine power. Suddenly, the surrounding air seemed to solidify. Before the blade hit the ground of the blood abyss had already started to crumble inch by inch. Rock fragments swirled in the air and exploded in the air. A strong sense of oppression came crashing down from the sky. Lin Muyu couldn't help but be secretly shocked. Luo Lan's cultivation was no longer the Luo Lan of a few years ago. He had indeed reached the peak of the first heaven of the divine state. His Yi was filled with blood-red chaos. Lin Muyu couldn't summon much power. The king's combat flame in his body seemed to have gone dormant. Only a strand of Fuxi's divine power could resist the enemy. With a roar, Fuxi's divine power condensed into a dragon blood shield above his shoulder. Bang! That earth-shattering attack caused Lin Muyu's body to tremble as she fell several meters into the ground. The ground around her crumbled and evaporated. A wave of golden divine power spread out in all directions, catching the Luo Lan disciples off guard and causing them to fall. Many disciples with lower cultivation bases were directly knocked unconscious or injured by the divine power's shockwave. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the blood abyss, the golden light that was scattered in the corner was constantly wailing. That was the essence of the divine spark that Qin Yin had left behind. However, these essence fragments were currently withstanding the destructive power of Luolan. Lin Muyu raised his head. His eyes were filled with anger. He shouted, "I told you to stop. How dare an ant like you speak so arrogantly?" In the air, Luo Lan wore a golden robe and held a blood-red demon blood saber. His eyes were filled with disdain. "Lin Muyu, do you know the difference between a god and a human? A god is above everything. A human is just an ant. Your pain, your sorrow, in my eyes, is just an insignificant pleading from an ant. You are not worthy to be my opponent. I only used 30% of my strength in the previous attack. Next, I will use 40%. Let's see how you can block it." Buzz, buzz, buzz. Faint golden runes appeared in the heaven realm. It seemed to be providing Luo Lan's divine power. At this moment, the two planes seemed to have been opened. Luo Lan was borrowing the power of the heaven realm to kill Lin Muyu. Did the heaven realm, that holy plane, really represent justice? Probably not. Boo. Luo Lan's second blow landed heavily on Lin Muyu's shoulder. Immediately, a heart-wrenching pain spread through Lin Muyu's body, causing the rocks around him to shatter. Lin Muyu himself spat out a mouthful of blood. Although this attack severely injured Lin Muyu, it also made Lin Muyu realize that the blood-red chaotic power that had shrouded his Ihai for half a year had dissipated a lot. A new king's fighting flame crazily rushed into his Ihai. "Come on, continue. Let's see how many blades you have." Lin Muyu raised his head and roared. "Presumptuous!" Luo Lan stood proudly in the air like a Buddha. The demon blood saber in his hand buzzed. The passage to the heaven realm constantly flowed with divine power and poured into Luo Lan's body. Strength to break all things. The demon blood saber was raised again. This time, endless divine power descended from the sky and drilled into the ground. In the next moment, the blood abyss trembled and exploded. This huge blood abyss was being destroyed at a rapid pace. The last bit of power that Qin Yin left on the ground was also quickly dissipating. "Stop!" Lin Muyu's eyes were bloodshot as he roared. "Are you angry?" Luo Lan laughed. "I want you to be angry. I want you to be angry, but you can't do anything about it. I want you to be angry, but you can only watch as I control everything. This is the difference between a god and an ant. Now die." Buzz. The demon blood saber descended from the sky and slashed the dragon blood battle shield that Fuxi had condensed with divine power for the third time. Bang! The sky shook and the ground shook. The entire surface of the blood abyss was violently collapsing. The barren walls of Bailing City in the distance were also collapsing. Luo Lan's current cultivation was no longer a disgrace to the word God. Perhaps, only a god could have the ability to destroy heaven and earth. Pooh! Fresh blood splattered on the ground. Lin Muyu was already heavily injured, but his unyielding will allowed him to continue persevering. However, what worried him was that before he died, this blood abyss would be destroyed by Luo Lan. Around him, the disciples of the 7 world palaces saw that the outcome had been decided. All of them were grinning from ear to ear. An immortal venerable strength is indeed unparalleled in the mortal world. Lin Muyu is dead for sure this time. He's the one courting death. As an ant, he actually dares to challenge the might of the heavens. He's simply courting death. Immortal venerable, one more slash, chop Lin Muyu's dog head into pieces. Ha, what 4 heroes of Lan Yen. What wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. They're just a bunch of jumping clowns. Immortal venerable, strengthen the might of our 7 world palaces. The ridicule from the crowd could not enter Lin Muyu's ears. All of his emotions were concentrated in his EC. Luo Lan's third slash had split the blood chaos in his EC by 30%. 2 more slashes, maybe 1 more slash would be enough to disperse this seal that had appeared out of nowhere. Still not dead yet? Luo Lan stood in the air and sneered. The demon blood saber buzzed and trembled. Godly energy rapidly poured into it. This time, at least 70% of the godly energy was gathered. The demon blood saber spun in the air and slashed down with great force. Boom. The ground completely collapsed. Lin Muyu fell several hundred meters, his petrified body falling into the boiling lava. Luo Lan waved his hand, and his godly energy spread out like a huge net in the air, protecting the group of disciples so that they would not fall into the second layer of the blood abyss. Wah! Lin Muyu still maintained his kneeling position. He held the sword in one hand as he knelt in the boiling lava. Looking up at the sky, a faint golden light shone in his eyes. Xiao, xiao, xiao. Rays of holy light rippled under his feet. His EC had never been so clear before. Moreover, all the auras, energy, changes of the stars, and the rotation of the universe seemed to be crystal clear. At this moment, Lin Muyu had entered a whole new realm, the Saint Heaven realm. Finally, thanks to the power of Luo Lan's Lin Muyu had stepped into the third layer of the Saint realm. In the air, Luo Lan saw everything clearly. He could not help but feel a chill in his heart. His embarrassment turned into anger, and he poured all of his godly energy into the demon blood saber. In an instant, the sky turned dark, and beams of golden light poured into Luo Lan's body. After the full power was released, Luo Lan's eyes had already turned golden, the unique color of a god's eyes. Kill! Luo Lan descended from the sky, concentrating all of his strength into a single slash. This was already Luo Lan's strongest attack at his current cultivation level. Lin Muyu did not have any fear in his heart. The Saint Heaven realm's power continuously attacked every part of his body, and the rock layer on the surface of his body cracked and cracked. The light from the stellar sword in his hands soared into the sky, and he met Luo Lan's attack head-on. He did not use any techniques, but simply used Fushi's godly energy to meet Luo Lan's full power attack head-on. Bang! 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 3 consecutive loud sounds rang out, and a splatter of blood splattered in the air. Celestial Sovereign, this is impossible. This is impossible. The group of disciples from the 7 world palaces were all dumbfounded. In the air, Luo Lan's body fluttered down like cotton, while Lin Muyu wielded the astral sword in his hand. His eyes were completely coated with a golden sheen as beams of golden light shot through the clouds and gathered around his body. Numerous golden runes revolved around the pillar of light, and faint sounds of chanting could be heard. Lin Muyu had stepped into the heavenly divinity realm. Rays of transparent and resplendent spheres of energy revolved around Lin Muyu, and each of them had a different luster and color. Red like fire, green like wind, blue like ice, gold like light, and purple like lightning. A total of 12 beads containing godly energy revolved around Lin Muyu, and his golden eyes were filled with indescribable anger. He shouted, "Even if I am an ant, I will still kill you, despicable god." 1. His figure shot towards Luo Lan like a meteor, and Lin Muyu slashed out with his sword. Ah! Luo Lan hurriedly raised the devil blood saber to block, but how could he block it? In the next instant, the saber was destroyed, and Luo Lan was dead. The golden sword chi from Lin Muyu's sword pierced out from Luo Lan's body, tearing the earth and rivers apart. This sword strike seemed to be able to tear the earth apart, causing the entire 100-mountain range city to tremble. Even the steel walls in the distance collapsed. Slaying a god. Celestial Sovereign, oh my heavens! The group of disciples from the 7 world palaces were dumbfounded, but when they looked at Lin Muyu's golden eyes, all of them involuntarily knelt down. At this moment, Lin Muyu was the true god, and they were merely ants that were as lowly as dirt. Chapter 6:18. Heavenly Realm, Pond of Illusion. Ziyao, who was dressed in a white veil, looked like a fairy as she stared at the scene of Lin Muyu awakening in the Pond of Illusion. Her face was filled with shock and disbelief as she murmured, "Wind, fire, lightning, earth, ice, light, life, space, order, darkness, chaos, wisdom." A total of 12 spiritual bodies of laws. He actually awakened a sovereign lattice. The 7 luminaries' demon emperor was equally shocked, but his face was filled with joy. "Ha! As expected of my brother, you is born with a sovereign lattice, ha!" The group of god emperors and god kings were dumbfounded, their faces pale. What did a sovereign lattice mean? It meant that as long as he made good use of it, he could become a true god in the heavenly realm, or even the ruler of the heavens beyond heaven. The 7 luminaries demon emperor said, "Looks like we don't have to worry about the shattered cauldron world anymore. However, Yu has just awakened a sovereign lattice and he is not good at making use of it. If we miss this opportunity," Ziyao smiled faintly, "don't worry, after I descended to the lower realm, I left a restriction in the blood-red abyss. Anyone who uses divine power in the blood-red abyss will suffer a backlash. Yu used such a tyrannical supreme divine power, but his cultivation is still shallow, so he will definitely fall into a deep sleep due to the backlash, and then enter the forgotten realm that the supreme being must go through." The 7 brilliance demon monarch took a deep breath. That's for the best. It's time for him to truly cultivate after he enters the forgotten realm. That kid Yu. He's so stubborn, compassionate, and crazy. Are those words his Tao, his rules? Ziyao said, "The sovereign lattice is the one that rules over all things. It requires extremely difficult cultivation to complete the second awakening. Everything depends on how you passes the forgotten realm. Wait for him to awaken again." Bai Ling City. The blood abyss was filled with smoke. It was as though the scene of Qin Yin's death half a year ago had returned. However, this time, it was a scene of slaughter. A beam of golden light shot through the sky above the blood abyss. The stellar sword once again slashed out with a heaven-piercing golden sword qi, shredding the 3 disciples of the 7 world palaces into pieces. "You want to leave?" Lin Muyu abruptly turned around and opened her palm. A law of darkness spun in her palm, and with a "wung" sound, darkness energy surged. A Saint Realm disciple who was trying to escape was instantly immobilized. His body slowly swelled up and exploded into a bloody mess. Under the might of the law of darkness, a mere Saint Realm expert was not even worth mentioning. "All of you will die." Lin Muyu's eyes were filled with a merciless golden light. She pointed her long sword straight towards the sky. Suddenly, the heaven realm's divine power in the clouds poured down as if it was summoned by its master. Swoosh, 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 3 golden crystal pillars fell from the sky. It was Qin Yin's celestial dragon crystal. Bang, bang, bang. The law of light's destructive energy rippled outwards, and not a single one of the disciples from the 7 world palaces was spared. Lin Muyu flew through the air and stomped on the ground. Oh! A boundless chill swept out, and a curtain of ice and snow rapidly extended in the sky, freezing a few disciples who had already escaped far away into ice shards. Obviously, they were already dead. However, Lin Muyu's intense Si and Qi Si were in a state of chaos. The supreme god force in her body had to be spat out quickly. She raised her iron fist in the air, and a blood-red energy revolved around her fist. This was the chaotic god force of the law of chaos. Her entire body was like a meteor as she fell into the blood abyss. This fist seemed as if it wanted to tear the earth apart. The earth shook violently, and the ruins of the 100-ridge city in the distance started to collapse. The power of this fist was no less than a magnitude 10 earthquake. Hong, hong, streams of fiery red lava soared into the sky, and the entire blood abyss doubled in size. Fortunately, the 100-ridge city was already a dead city with no signs of human habitation. Otherwise, this fist would have killed at least 1 million people. In the air, the shattered rocks and lava only fell back down after a few minutes. Piles of rubble piled up to form a new stone mountain, and it was a stone mountain that stretched for more than 10 li. However, Lin Muyu's figure was nowhere to be seen, and her supreme god force had also dissipated. It was as if nothing had happened, and all that was left was the stone mountain, as well as the shattered corpses of Luo Lan and the disciples from the 7 world palaces. Sleeping and awakening her strength did not mean that she had truly become stronger. Lin Muyu needed time to consolidate her strength, otherwise, how would she be able to control such a powerful supreme godhead? Wang! The table started to shake, and the candlelight on it flickered. Feng Jixing, who was holding a book on military strategy, couldn't help but be stunned. He raised his head and asked, What's wrong, an earthquake? Not far away, Zhang Wei said, it seems like an earthquake. Where did the earthquake come from? Chu Yao asked. I don't know. Wei Chou shook his head, saying, it seems like the earthquake came from the direction of the 100-ridge city. The place of the earthquake is very far away from us, but the feeling is very strong. Feng Jixing said, looks like there was a big earthquake in the direction of the 100-ridge city. It's a pity that the people of the Southern Ridge province have experienced so many wars, and now they have to face such a strong earthquake. AI, they have no way to live. Chu Yao smiled faintly. After we kill Qin Yi, we will reduce the taxes of the Southern Ridge province for the next 3 years. And that's the only way. Feng Jixing looked to the north and said, I wonder how Yu is doing. He's in the blood abyss, and if there is an earthquake in the 100-ridge city, you won't be able to avoid it. Wei Chou said, how about, this subordinate immediately leads the cavalry to the 100-ridge city to protect commander? No need. Feng Jixing waved his hand, a ray of light flashed in his eyes, and said, who is you? He's an expert comparable to the immortal state. A mere earthquake can't do anything to him. We should kill Qin Yi as soon as possible, that's the best plan. At the same time, in a small town to the south of the 100-ridge city, the sound of a baby being born could be heard. The family was very happy, and an old man with white hair and beard was extremely happy, holding a baby girl, and said with a red face, she's finally born, our Li family has a descendant. The Li family ran a clinic in the small town. Their only son, Li Xiang, was recruited as a soldier of the Iha country, and died in battle half a year ago, leaving a descendant in his wife's womb. The baby girl that was born was the only descendant of the Li family. Her father, Li Shu, was a doctor who collected, sold, and treated illnesses for a living. After losing his son in old age, he got a granddaughter, and it was easy to imagine how happy he was. The small town was full of sparks. On the 20th of the 12th month, year 7736 of the Empire calendar, Qin Xiling personally escorted 70 magic crystal cannons to Lingnan. Feng Jixing mobilized 240,000 men, arranged 12 Qianquan battle formations to fight the Iha country, and defeated Long Qianlin's Iron Chain formation. Wei Chou bombarded Shangyang City, razing the entire northern city wall to the ground, and the army killed their way into the city. After Shangyang City was breached, Long Qianlin and Ding Shi led the remnants of the army to escort Qin Yi, Man Ning, and their families out of Mingshan province, and formed a fleet at the east sea border of Lingkong province. They gathered a total of more than 800 warships of the Iha country, and left Lingnan with a large sum of money, talents, and women, crossing the sea to seek refuge on the dragon-shaped island. On the 7th of the 3rd month, year 7737 of the Empire calendar, Feng Jixing commanded 1,200 warships of the Empire and a total of 100,000 troops to attack the dragon-shaped island. However, they encountered a storm on the sea, and more than 200 warships were lost, and the navy suffered heavy losses. Then, they encountered Long Qianlin's hidden troops on the north side of the dragon-shaped island, and their warships suffered heavy losses. In the end, they returned in low spirits, and had no choice but to give up the plan to eliminate Qin. On the 3rd of the 4th month, year 7737 of the Empire calendar, Qin Yan led 100,000 elite troops and 30 magic crystal cannons to defeat the advanced troops of the demon race and the armored demon army in Heaven's Pivot province, and recaptured the Heaven's Pivot province from the hands of the demon race. In the middle of the 4th month, Qianfeng ordered the demon race to officially withdraw from Lingdong province, and all the troops went into hibernation in the Tongtian Gorge and Tongtian province. They would not contend with the empire for supremacy for a short period of time. At this point, under the leadership of Feng Jixing, Xiang Yu, and the others, the empire was reunified, and most of the 12 provinces returned to the empire's territory. On the 5th of the 5th month, year 7737 of the Empire calendar, Feng Jixing, Qin Yan, Chu Yao, Su Yu, Xiang Yu, Zhen Yifan, and the others arrived at the blood-red abyss. At this time, the blood-red abyss had already become a huge basin. The basin was overgrown with weeds, and a towering stone mountain stood at the center of the abyss. There were no signs of human habitation here, and only birds and beasts roamed around. Chu Yao looked at the stone mountain covered in grass, and couldn't help but tremble. She knew that Lin Muyu was buried under this mountain, but no one knew where he was, and when he would wake up. Everyone walked step by step to the top of the stone mountain, but the ground was barren. What else could they find? Sidu Shui frowned slightly and said, "Milord, where is he?" Situsen said, "A year ago, a hunter said that he personally witnessed a battle between gods. Commander, you grasped the power of gods, and killed Luo Lan and all the disciples of the 7 world palaces. If that's the case, Commander, you might have already ascended to the heaven realm." "Impossible," Feng Jixing muttered. "Why is it impossible? I know him too well." Feng Jixing's eyes were red, and he said, "Before finding Her Highness, you will definitely not ascend to the heaven realm. Why would this silly boy ascend by himself?" Wei Chou gritted his teeth and said, "We must find Milord. Men, dig the stone mountain for me and find Commander." Su Yu hurriedly stopped him and said, "If you doesn't want to see us, there's no need for us to disturb him. Furthermore, this is the place where Her Highness Yin rests. How can we wantonly dig here?" "Then what should we do?" Qin Yen was stunned. Feng Jixing sighed lightly, and he had a helpless look. Zhen Yifan said, "The world has already been unified, and it cannot be without a ruler. General Feng, let this old subject tell Commander you some things, is that all right?" "I'll have to trouble Divine Overlord." "Yes." Xing Yifan slowly walked forward, holding the golden imperial edict in his hand. He knelt on the peak of the stone mountain, and said, "Commander Yu, the world has already been unified. However, Her Highness Yin has already passed away, and we must appoint a new ruler. Therefore, after discussion, we have decided to appoint 3 kings. Everyone has elected Commander Yu as King Qin, Commander Feng Jixing as King Xian, and His Highness Qin Yen as King Zhong. Before Her Highness Yin returns to the Shattered Cauldron Realm continent, the 3 kings will rule the world. We hope that Your Highness King Qin will wake up soon. The Empire needs you to rule the world." Feng Jixing came behind Zhen Yifan and said softly, "We are all subjects of the Qin clan, and we are all waiting for Her Highness Yin's return. I hope that you are the same. Don't be willful and return to Lanyan City, if you are still there." As he spoke, Feng Jixing's heart was filled with bitterness. He had already stepped into the Saint Heaven realm, but at this moment, he couldn't feel any spiritual energy pulse in the mountain. There was no one at the bottom of the mountain, and no one knew where Lin Muyu had gone. Chapter 619. June 15th, Lanyan City, Re-establishment Ceremony. The periphery of the Zetian Palace was officially opened to the commoners, so much so that it was almost overcrowded. Over 100,000 commoners gathered at the periphery of the Zetian Palace's square, waiting for the crowning ceremony. Inside the palace, all the officials were silent. The throne was empty, the divine weapon was not wielded by anyone, and the 2 kings, Feng Jixing and Qin Yen, were only holding their weapons and standing at the foot of the throne. Xiang Yu, Zhen Yifan, Su Yu, and the others had grave expressions. Although they had already wiped out the rebels of Iha country and repelled the demon race, Qin Yin was already dead, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi's whereabouts were unknown. The empire's territory was unified, but the people's hearts were not. This was something that they could not be happy about no matter what. "Are you ready, Yen?" Feng Jixing asked in a low voice. "Yes." Qin Yen was a little nervous. He gripped the hilt of his sword tightly, and at the same time, tightened the chain on his armor a little. Feng Jixing smiled slightly and said, "Duke Zhong, let's go out. The people of the world have been waiting for a long time. There shouldn't be a problem for you to summon them, right?" Zeng Yifan said respectfully, "Your Highness Prince Exen, this is this old subject's honor." "Yes, let's go, Yen." Feng Jixing lightly bumped Qin Yan's shoulder and walked out of the palace with him. In this world, the 2 kings, Feng Jixing and Qin Yen, had the highest authority. Of course, the real ruler was Lin Muyu, who was sleeping in the blood-red abyss. Feng Jixing was Prince Exen, Qin Yen was Prince Zhong, and Lin Muyu's title was the Qin Wang. It was obvious who was the real ruler of the empire. When Feng Jixing and Qin Yan walked out of the main hall in their golden cloaks, the sea of people outside instantly burst into cheers. The empire's commoners had suffered from the war, and now they had finally welcomed the unification of the empire. They had finally chased away the cruel devil race. This was the result they had been waiting for a long time. After the two kings, Xiangyu, Luo Xen, Wei Chou, and the others followed one by one. When the group of ministers came to the altar outside the palace, Zheng Yifan, wearing a purple robe and holding a golden imperial edict, came to the front. He raised the imperial edict, and imbued his voice with the power of the holy domain. He said loudly, "By the emperor's decree." Immediately, the tens of thousands of imperial guards outside the palace knelt down, and the civilians in the distance also knelt down. Zheng Yifan opened the scroll and read with a penetrating voice, "Her Highness the Empress Qin Yin has ascended to cultivate, and specially ordered the three kings to rule the world on her behalf." The commander of the brave dragon legion, Lin Muyu, is the foster son of the former emperor and the empress's foster brother, has outstanding military service and is famous throughout the world. She is conferred the title of Qin Wang. The commander of the imperial guards, Feng Jixing, has performed meritorious service in eliminating the Lingnan rebels. She is conferred the title of Prince Xen and will guard the southern border. The commander of the imperial guards, Qin Yan, is the son of Prince Jining, Qin An. He has the bloodline of the great Qin and has performed meritorious service in recovering the Tianshu province. She is conferred the title of Prince Zhong and will guard the northern border. Feng Jixing and Qin Yan knelt down together. The female official, Shangguan Jingyue, walked forward, holding the sword seals of the kings, and bestowed them one by one. Feng Jixing held the seal, and his heart was filled with mixed feelings. If he could choose, he would rather continue to be the commander of the imperial guards under Xiaoyao. But now that Qin Yin had passed away and Lin Muyu wasn't around, if he didn't stand up, the Qin Empire would inevitably be stolen by others. At the very least, before Qin Yin and Lin Muyu return, he had to take care of this huge empire on their behalf. Qin Yan's face was slightly excited. After all, a man should be able to establish meritorious service in this world. Now that his title of nobility had reached the pinnacle, if his father and elder brother were still alive, they should be proud of their current status, right? Zheng Yifan took another imperial edict and continued to read loudly. Marquis of Pingnan, Xiangyu, is conferred the title of Duke of Southern, guarding Mingshan province. Luo Xen, the adopted son of Yunzhong King, is conferred the title of Duke of Northern, guarding Yunzhong province. Wei Chou, the deputy commander of Valiant Dragon Army, is conferred the title of Duke of Wei, guarding Lingdong province. Zheng Yifan, the title of Divine Marquis, is conferred the title of Duke of Zhonghua, guarding Qihai province. Xiangyu, Luo Xin, and Wei Chou knelt down one after another, and Shangguan Jingyue once again bestowed them with new duke sword seals. Zheng Yifan paused for a moment, then said loudly again, Su Jiantao is conferred the title of Marquis of Tsungen, guarding Tsangnan province. Beili Tsang is conferred the title of Marquis of Tsunghai, commanding the empire's navy. Tang Zhen is conferred the title of Marquis of Jinshi, commanding the Zhenghua army. Yao Yuan is still the title of Marquis of Jinghai, guarding Lingkong province. Su Yu is conferred the title of Marquis of Xining, guarding Tianshu province. All the marquises must do their best to assist the three princes in ruling the world. The five of them knelt down one after another, accepting the conferment. 3 princes, 4 dukes, and 5 marquises. From then on, the new ruling structure of the Qin Empire was forged, and it was precisely this structure that allowed the Qin Empire to be peaceful for more than 10 years. Following that, they conferred the titles of various ministers, assistant ministers, and so on. The entire empire had a brand new look. At night, a banquet was set up in Zetian Hall to entertain the ministers. Zetian Hall was still the same as before, just that there was no master. After the conferment ceremony, Feng Jixing would soon return to Sunset City to train the troops and guard the southern border. Qin Yan, on the other hand, would be in charge of the military deployment of the entire northern Ridge Province's 8 major provinces. As Duke Wei, Wei Chou was also the commander of the Longdan army camp. His task was the heaviest. He had to go to Lingdong province, rebuild Lingdong, contend against, and exterminate the demon race. As they toasted each other, everyone drank too much. The weather in June was already very hot, and a group of ministers staggered from drinking. Everyone knew that the empire no longer had an emperor and only had 3 princes. Duke Wei Chou held onto a wine cup that was half spilled and came out of the hall. He sat down under a stone pillar and looked at the bright moon in the sky, feeling tipsy. When he thought of Qin Yin's death and Tang Xiaoxi's disappearance, Lin Muyu's heart was like dead ashes, and tears rolled down uncontrollably. He didn't feel any honor or favor from being promoted to Duke Wei, only bitterness. Duke Wei is hiding here and crying by himself. How does this look? Feng Jixing's voice rang out from behind. His armor was draped with the Duke's gilded cloak, and he held onto the golden Jew in his hand. He sat down next to Wei Chou and looked toward the south, listening to the musicians playing music in the palace behind him. Feng Jixing couldn't help but feel desolate in his heart. His eyes turned red, and he turned away to wipe away his tears. It was true that there was nothing to be happy about. Wei Chou smiled. Prince Exin, why have you come? It's better if you just call me General Feng. Feng Jixing raised his head and drank the top-grade snowflower wine in the golden Jew. He said, Wei Chou, although our empire now has powerful weapons like the magic crystal cannons, we still mustn't underestimate the devil race. I think you know better than anyone else how terrifying the devil race's huge flying snakes are. The Longdan army camp has entered deep into the wintering province alone. Our plan is only to defend and not take the initiative to provoke and attack. We mustn't underestimate Qianfeng. I understand. It's just that the Longdan army camp has suffered severe casualties. It'll probably be hard for us to face the devil race alone. Don't worry about that. Feng Jixing smiled and said, during this month, I'll select soldiers who have gone through hundreds of battles from the hundreds of thousands of elite soldiers in Lingnan to replenish the Longdan army camp. We'll expand the Longdan army camp to 100,000 people and become the real #1 army. Apart from that, I've discussed it with Yen and will give you a reserve army of 100,000 people for you to train. We'll prepare all the strategic resources that the wintering province needs and send them to the wintering province endlessly from Lingnan and Lingbei. That's great. Feng Jixing patted his shoulder and smiled. Wei Chou, you're able to become the commander-in-chief of an army of 200,000 at such a young age. You have a great future ahead of you. Make good use of this rare opportunity. However, Wei Chou felt a little sad and said, I'd rather continue to be that general under the Lord Commander. People have to grow. This is your cultivation. Feng Jixing took a long look at him and said, before you returns, you'll be his incarnation. You should understand. I know. Wei Chou took in a deep breath and asked, General Feng, as Prince Exin, you're going to head over to Lingnan soon. However, the chaos in Lingnan has just been pacified. Do you have the confidence to rule over Lingnan? Don't worry. Feng Jixing said confidently, the 300,000 elite soldiers from Seven Seas City are all in my hands. They'll be enough to guard Lingnan. Moreover, quite a number of the commanders from the Seven Seas City army have become my trusted subordinates. You don't have to worry about this. That's good. Just then, a young general walked over with a wine glass in his hand. He had 3 golden stars on his collar and was a commander. He smiled respectfully and said, Prince Exin, why have you come out? Our brothers are waiting for you to drink. I'll be right there. Feng Jixing laughed out loud and said, Wei Chou, let me introduce him to you. This young general is Qin Xiaoli, the son of Qin Chong, the commander of the Seven Seas City's Jianghu army. Ever since Commander Qin Chong died in battle, he has taken over as the commander of the Jianghu army. Although he's young, he's a talented general who can hold his own. When Qin Xiaoli saw Wei Chou, his eyes lit up. He cupped his fists and said respectfully, I, Qin Xiaoli, pay my respects to Duke Wei. Commander Qin, there's no need to stand on ceremony. Wei Chou returned the empire's military salute and said, Prince Exin has such a young and capable general under you. It seems that my worries are a little unnecessary. Haha, Feng Jixing said. Commander Chen, you can go back and drink first. I'll be back after chatting a little more with Wei Chou. Yes, Prince Xing. Come quickly. Go ahead. Feng Jixing turned around, and his smiling face was replaced with a solemn expression. He said, Wei Chou, there's still something I need you to do in Lingdong province this time around. What is it? We've received a secret report saying that a farmer saw Princess Shi in the fields of Lingdong province. She's imprisoned in a huge crystal and is unconscious. What? Princess Shi? Wei Chou stood up abruptly and said, This? How is this possible? Didn't they say that Princess Shi is dead? From the looks of it, Princess Shi isn't dead. Feng Jixing muttered to himself and said, I can't sense Yu's aura in the Crimson Abyss anymore. He should have entered a state of deep sleep. There are only two people in this world who can awaken you. One is Her Highness Yin, but she's no longer around. The other is Princess Shi. As long as we can find Princess Shi, we'll be able to awaken you. Princess Shi is most likely with the devil race. Go and ask around. I understand. Feng Jixing nodded, and a gleam of light shot out from his eyes. He said, I also want to ask Tang Xiaoxi why she would be so ruthless to kill Her Highness Qin Yin. Chapter 620. To the north of Tongtian province, after crossing an invisible sky curtain, all living things came back to life. Demon cities towered between the mountains and valleys. Pedestrians came and went in an endless stream. There were winged hunters out hunting, and human farmers with hoes on their shoulders. In the past few years, the demon race had constantly migrated from Tongtian province and Lingdong province, and humans moved to Tongtian Gorge. Now, this endless gorge had become a place where the demon race and humans lived together. Half a year ago, the Demon King issued the Holy Demon Code, drawing up a treaty between the demon race and humans. No demon race could attack humans without permission, and no human race could attack the demon race without permission. Since then, the Tongtian Gorge, which was like spring all year round, had become a fertile field, flourishing day by day. Chengdu, a splendid capital city, stood between the mountains on the east side of Tongtian Gorge. A large number of high-level demon soldiers were stationed here, and there were even dozens of temporary sentry camps set up 10 miles away from Chengdu. Cavalry came and went constantly, and the earth-shaking roars of the armor demons could be heard from one side of the gorge. A cool breeze blew past, causing his cloak to flutter. Qianfeng wore a golden cloak, his hand on the sword at his waist. His starry eyes watched the demon race training in the gorge, and he couldn't help but sigh. Beside him, Lian Fu said, Marshal, why are you sighing? Qianfeng pointed at the tens of thousands of armor demons training in the gorge. Can such strong shields and sharp blades really block the humans' magic crystal cannons? This, Lian Fu nodded and muttered, we have to take it step by step. Marshal, this subordinate has already sent some high-level gods who are proficient in human dialects into the territory of Lanyan City. As long as there is a chance, we will definitely obtain some technical information about the magic crystal cannons. If we can also master the magic crystal cannons, why should we fear the Empire? The Empire is growing stronger day by day. The Iha nation has been destroyed, and the god race will be the Empire's #1 enemy. The Empire is also our only enemy on this continent. Qianfeng rubbed his temples, looking a little tired. Is there any news of Lin Muyu? Yes. Lian Fu cupped his fists and said, after Yaoji bewitched the witch Tang Xiaoxi in Bailing City and successfully killed Qin Yin, Lin Muyu rushed to the Scarlet Abyss. When she saw the remains of Qin Yin, she was very sad and destroyed herself in the Scarlet Abyss. Her body turned into stone, and now she has become a stone statue, sealed in the mountains. Marshal, you don't have to worry about her. Sigh. Qianfeng was at a loss. Lin Muyu loved Qin Yin very much, and I also fell in love with Qin Yin at first sight, but I couldn't stop the Divine Emperor and the Sacred Master's plan, and could only watch as Tang Xiaoxi killed Qin Yin. Am I not fit to talk about feelings with humans? No, Marshal, you don't have to blame yourself. You are the marshal of the god race and bear the future of the god race. Naturally, you can't let your emotions affect your decisions. Let's go. Let's go check on the demoness. Yes. The two warhorses galloped towards the divine capital. Not long after, they arrived at the main hall. However, Qian Feng and Lian Fu didn't enter the hall. Instead, they went around the door and came to the rock behind the hall. A group of guards saluted them. The moss-covered rock slowly opened up to reveal a secret door. Qian Feng and Lian Fu went straight in. After entering the secret room, a high-ranked demon held a torch and led the way. He respectfully said, "Marshal, His Majesty the Divine Emperor and the Sacred Master are also here. Oh, that's for the best." Twisting and turning until they reached the depths of the mountain, the front suddenly opened up. They saw stone statues that were several meters tall standing in the surroundings. Each of their faces were fierce and lifelike, just like a demon god descending to the world. It was said that these stone statues were the heroes of the ancient god race. At least, that was what the ancient books said. Therefore, these demon gods naturally became the totem of the god race. Surrounded by dozens of totems, there was a huge azure crystal in the center of the hall. It was 10 meters tall, and there were streams of fiery red energy surging within it. One could vaguely see a graceful girl imprisoned in the ice crystal. The fiery red energy seeped out along the ice crystal, and then was absorbed by a strange tube and sent to the other side of the mountain. Two people stood under the crystal. One was the Divine Emperor, and the other was the heavily injured Sacred Master. The Sacred Master was sitting in a chair carried by two high-ranked demon soldiers. Marshal Qian Feng has arrived. Oh! The Divine Emperor turned around and put on a gentle smile. Qian Feng, you've arrived? Greetings, Your Majesty. Qian Feng and Lian Jin knelt together and stood up. Qian Feng looked at Tang Xiaoxi in the crystal and said, "Your Majesty, how's the refinement of the demon lady's power? It seems to be going well." The Divine Emperor smiled faintly, his eagle-like eyes gleaming with greed. "No, it's far from enough. Tang Xiaoxi is a demoness fated by the heavens. The demonic energy in her body is endless, and only this kind of demonic energy can continue to nourish the demonic energy in the insectoid hive, allowing it to incubate the savage beasts from the other dimension for us. Unfortunately, the degree of refinement is far from enough. We can only use less than 10% of Tang Xiaoxi's demonic energy." "Is that so?" Qian Feng raised his head and stared at Tang Xiaoxi, only to see her eyebrows tightly furrowed, as if she was enduring a great deal of pain. The energy in her body was slowly being sucked out. One could well imagine the pain. However, Qian Feng had been through hundreds of battles and had already honed a heart of steel. He said calmly, "As long as Tang Xiaoxi's mind is not clear, her ability to restrain the power in her body will become weaker and weaker. This powerful demonic power will definitely be used by us." The Divine Emperor nodded. "Sacred Master, how's the mind manipulation art?" Sage Master sat on the chair and slowly said, "Your Majesty, my ability is still not enough to restrain Tang Xiaoxi. Her psyche power and heart power are too strong, and the demonic power in her body far surpasses mine. I still need some time." "Very well. Mind manipulation art." Qian Feng was surprised. "Sacred Master, are you trying to control Tang Xiaoxi's mind?" "That's right." The corners of the Sage Master's mouth curled up, revealing a rather ferocious smile as he said, "Tang Xiaoxi has the 9 tails of destiny. Her tyrannical demonic energy is enough to move unhindered through the 3 realms and be unparalleled in the world. If this kind of power can be used by our god race, its effect is no less than 100 giant flying snakes and 100,000 armored demons." Qian Feng was startled. He wanted to say something but stopped himself. The Demon King smiled. "Qian Feng, I know you are kind, but the future of the celestial race is in our hands. Now is not the time to be merciful. Tang Xiaoxi is a human. It would be great if we could use her." "Oh, is there any news from the Empire?" "Yes." Qian Feng respectfully said, "The humans have conferred 3 kings. Qin Wang Lin Muyu, Xen Wang Feng Jixing, and Zhong Wang Qinyan will rule the world together. However, Lin Muyu has turned into a rotten rock in the Crimson Blood Abyss. There is nothing to worry about. Now, we need to guard against the famous General Feng Jixing. In addition, Lin Muyu's subordinate Wei Chou has been conferred the title of Duke Wei. He will soon enter the Lingdong province to deal with the celestial race. We have to guard against him. Wei Chou has been following Lin Muyu for a long time. He is well versed in the art of war and has a strategic mind. This person must be eliminated. The Demon King couldn't help but smile. Sage Sovereign, did you hear that? Quickly practice your mind manipulation skill. We need Witch Tang Xiaoxi's power. Once she is used by the celestial race, her first mission is to head to the Lingdong province and kill Duke Wei Chou in front of everyone. This will chill the morale of the empire and cause us to collapse. Yes, this subordinate will definitely practice harder. Go do what you need to do. Yes. After everyone dispersed, only the Nephilim King was left standing under the ice crystal. He stared fixedly at the unconscious Tang Xiaoxi in the ice crystal. Suddenly, the Nephilim King's voice became gentle and his face was filled with a demonic smile as he said, "Witch Tang Xiaoxi. Humans call me Nephilim King, but I call you Witch. Our fate is really predestined. My good daughter, quickly wake up and conquer the world for your father. Reclaim the Middle-earth." In Lanyan City, the brilliant starlight shone down on the city. In a small courtyard of the Imperial Guards, a beautiful young lady stared at the swaying pomegranate tree in a daze. Her eyes were filled with indescribable loneliness and helplessness. The last battle between the celestial race and the humans was a year ago, but there was no news from the Tongtian Gorge. It was as if they had forgotten about her. "Your Highness Ning, Prince Exin Feng Jixing has come to visit," a maid said at the side. "All right, General Feng, please come to the hall for a chat." Feng Jixing wasn't the only one who came. Duke Wei Chou, Citizen, Sidu Shui, Feng Shi, Su Yu, and the others were also there. "General Feng, is there news of my father?" Feng Ning asked hopefully. Feng Jixing cupped his fists and said, "Please forgive me, Your Highness Ning. This time around, I'm not here to send you to the Tongtian Gorge. Instead, I'm here to send you to the Lingdong province's Winterfrost City." "Oh, Winterfrost City?" Feng Ning was stunned. "Why are you sending me to Winterfrost City?" "Because Winterfrost City is closer to the Immortal's capital." Wei Chou smiled faintly. "We're worried that Your Highness is homesick. Therefore, Wei Chou will personally escort Your Highness Ning to Winterfrost City. This way, it'll be more convenient for you to travel to and from the Tongtian Gorge. Perhaps Your Highness Ning will even be able to see your father, whom you've been thinking about day and night." Feng Ning instantly felt a chill in her heart. Although she was young and inexperienced, she had been imprisoned in Lanyan City for 3 years. How could she not know what kind of mutual deception was? Now that Feng Jixing and Wei Chou had said this, Feng Ning immediately understood. She was only going to Winterfrost City as bait. Once the devil race learned that she was in Winterfrost City, they would definitely send an army to attack. Then, the devil race would definitely be greeted by countless magic crystal cannons in the Longdan army camp. This was not a caring and considerate act, but a vicious plan to destroy the devil race. "No, I'm used to life in Lanyan City. I don't want to leave anymore," Feng Ning said. "That's not up to Your Highness." Feng Jixing slowly stood up and said, "We'll set off tomorrow morning. Your Highness Ning will follow Duke Wei and the army to Winterfrost City." Everyone cupped their fists and Feng Ning could only smile bitterly. "Then, where is Commander Yu?" she suddenly asked. Chapter 621. Howl. In the Crimson Abyss, a dragon's howl came from a crack in the rocks deep within the mountain. The space was slowly torn open, and Acatosaurus poked its head out. Its claws quickly scratched at the edge of the crack, widening the crack. Then it curled up its body and moved out. It was dark inside the mountain. There was not much space to begin with, and its arrival made the place even more crowded. Howl! Another soft howl sounded. Catasaurus coiled its body and hugged a stone statue in its arms. The statue was in the posture of a fist landing on the ground. It was the same posture that Lin Muyu was in when she was in a deep sleep. The Catasaurus sensed the connection between their souls and rubbed its head intimately against the stone. However, the stone was cold and did not respond at all. As if it felt that the place was too crowded, a Catasaurus suddenly waved its claws, turning the rocks into gravel and throwing them into the space crack behind it. It wanted to create a spacious living environment for its master. Perhaps, in this world, only a Catasaurus thought that Lin Muyu, who had turned into stone, was still alive. Howl! After digging out a tunnel that was several meters long, a Catasaurus cried out to its master happily, but Lin Muyu still did not respond. The Catasaurus was not discouraged and continued to dig. Soon, the tunnel extended all the way up to the base of the mountain. It was nearly 100 meters long. Catasaurus happily dug a hole, twisting its body like a loach that had finally entered the mud after many months. Pieces of gravel fell and hit the poor stone that Lin Muyu had turned into. Finally, when a Catasaurus dug out the tunnel, the night sky shone a ray of starlight on the stone that Lin Muyu had turned into. Suddenly, a stream of astral power surged out of the stone, as if responding to the stars in the sky. Howl! A Catasaurus returned to its master's side, coiled its body around its master's body, and fell into a deep sleep. Half a month later, in the northeastern region of the High Sky Province, Sunji Mountain, galloping sounds of horses' hooves could be heard, and the Prince Exan army's war flag fluttered in the wind. This was the final battle between the Empire and the Iha country on land. Feng Jixing had personally led 200,000 elite troops here, and in the mountains were the troops left behind by the Iha country. Qin Huan was leading several 10,000 elite troops. Qin Huan had been waiting for his father's orders all this while. It was a pity that Qin Yi had already been defeated and had fled to the sea. How could he still care about this son of his? The Sun Halberd Mountain was a mountain range that was 20 li long. The mountain paths were winding and dangerous, making it easy to defend and difficult to attack. The war flags of the Iha Empire fluttered all over the mountain, and from the looks of it, there seemed to be 100,000 soldiers at the foot of the mountain. Feng Jixing gripped his wind cutter and urged his horse to run around the foot of the mountain. His gaze was fixed on every angle and terrain of the mountain. Behind him, Zhang Wei, Chen Xiaoli, Luo Yu and the rest followed closely behind. "Sir, do you understand?" Zhang Wei asked. "I understand." "Then when do we attack the mountain?" "There's no hurry to attack the mountain." Feng Jixing said calmly, "Qin Huan's men have been guarding this place for 1 year, and there shouldn't be much rations left. Pass down my orders to surround the Sun Halberd Mountain and cut off the water source. In less than half a month, Qin Huan will definitely lead his army down the mountain. When that time comes, we'll just have to greet them with the magic crystal cannons." On the Sun Halberd Mountain, Qin Huan was also leading a group of subordinates on a patrol. He looked at the Empire's camp from afar, and the more he looked, the colder his heart became. Qin Huan and the others knew that this time around, Feng Jixing's main forces had come personally. They weren't the motley crew that the Empire's officials had sent to suppress the bandits. The Empire had been busy attacking Long Qianlin and Ding Shi's armies and had neglected Qin Huan's remaining troops. Now that Feng Jixing had finally taken the time to personally come and annihilate them. "It's over," Qin Huan mumbled. "Your Highness." An old general cupped his fists and said, "The troops Feng Jixing is leading have at least 200,000 men, but they've come from afar and are all exhausted. I heard that the Empire has set the national policy of 3 kings ruling the world in Lanyan City. As Prince Xian, Feng Jixing has always been the #1 person in the Empire after Lin Muyu's disappearance. This time around he'll definitely be a proud soldier. Why don't you pass down the order for the 3 armies to get ready? Once the sky turns dark, we'll charge down from the high ground and catch them off guard. We'll charge out of the encirclement with our valuables, seize the transport ships along the coast of Linghan City, and head to the dragon-shaped island to meet up with the great commander. What do you think?" Qin Huan took a deep breath. His face was full of confusion as he said, "Old General, Don't you know our situation? Ever since we separated from our father a year ago, we haven't had any reinforcements. We've also been lacking in rations, medicine, water, and so on. In this year, more than 20,000 people have died of illness, and there are tens of thousands of deserters. Now, we only have less than 50,000 men in our hands. We've also consumed more than half of our war horses, leaving us with less than 20,000. The army that fought against Yao Yuan half a year ago had also almost used up all the embryos of the Heavenly Book. How are we going to fight against Feng Jixing's elite troops now? But the old general pondered and said, if we don't try to fight, I'm afraid we won't even have a chance to survive. Feng Jixing is much more powerful than we imagined. He'll definitely cut off our water supply and force us to fight with thirst. By then, we'll definitely be defeated. We might even end up being annihilated. Please don't worry, Your Highness, another captaincy said in a low voice. We still have a chance of survival if we fight our way out of the encirclement. Your Highness, please give the order, another high-ranking general said. The group of more than 20 generals knelt down and said, we're willing to follow Your Highness and fight to the death. Qin Huan was trembling all over. His face was full of confusion and fear as he said, Feng Jixing is so powerful. We don't have a chance. Iha Nation is finished. Don't say anything more. Drag it out as long as you can. It's always good to live for a few more days. Sigh. An old general gritted his teeth and walked forward. Suddenly, he took advantage of Qin Huan's unguarded moment and struck him from behind. Bam! Qin Huan instantly fainted. Old General Luo, what are you doing? The group of generals was dumbfounded. The old general held Qin Huan under his armpit and said, Your Highness has been scared out of his wits. We must protect Your Highness and fight our way out of here. We must protect the bloodline of Commander Qin. Everyone follow my order. When the moon rises, immediately launch an attack. If we take the initiative to attack, we might be able to catch Feng Jixing off guard. After nightfall, torches were suddenly lit up on the mountain. Countless soldiers in Iha Nation's military uniforms charged down from the mountain. Their warhorses galloped at full speed. Immediately, Feng Jixing's front line was caught off guard. At least 1,000 people were killed. In the camp at the foot of the mountain, Zhang Wei looked at the torches in the distance and said, What a good Qin Huan. He actually dared to break out. Feng Jixing squinted his eyes and said with a smile, Qin Huan was already scared out of his wits. He was forced to break out of the encirclement. Didn't you see that Qin Huan was carried down the mountain by an old general? Luo Yu asked, Commander, should we attack with the magic crystal cannons? No, don't be hasty. Feng Jixing raised his hand and said, Use the arrow boxes and ballistae to shoot for a while. Let Qin Huan and the others at the front pass. Then, use the magic crystal cannons to intercept the troops at the back. Order people to spread the word that those who surrender will not be killed. Hand over their weapons and escort them back to Sunset City to be reorganized. Most of these people are just soldiers who fight for the army's pay. There is no need to kill them all. Then, are we going to let Qin Huan go? Yes. The corner of Feng Jixing's mouth curled up as he smiled. A mere battle formation scared him to the point of losing his mind. Let's return this kind of trash to Qin Yi. Once Qin Yi is dead and Qin Huan takes over, that will be the time for us to attack Dragon Island. As he spoke, a cold glint flashed past Feng Jixing's eyes. The Imperial Army had crossed the sea to attack Dragon Island but suffered a crushing defeat. This was a humiliation that was hard to wash away for Feng Jixing. He had to raise Dragon Island to appease the hatred in his heart. However, there were famous generals like Long Qianlin and Ding Shi on Dragon Island. It was truly a thorny problem. They wouldn't be able to take it down in a short period of time. The sound of the arrow boxes and ballistae springs rang out incessantly. The sharp arrows seemed to have eyes of their own, only killing the middle and low-ranking officers while letting Qin Huan and the others off. When Qin Huan's main forces arrived, the magic crystal cannons were finally activated. Many purple mushroom clouds soared up into the sky from the mountain range. The destructive prowess was extremely astonishing, and in the blink of an eye, the small mountain path had turned into a living hell. After a round of bombardment, how could the Iha country's soldiers still dare to go down the mountain? All of them were dumbfounded. Just then, a person rode up the mountain, holding onto a wind cutter. It was Feng Jixing. His golden battle robes fluttered, and Feng Jixing raised his battle blade and bellowed, "I'm the Empire's Prince Exen, Feng Jixing. You guys were originally the Empire's soldiers, but you were bewitched by Qin Yi and became rebels. I'll give you a chance now. Put down your weapons and accept the Empire's army to take you in again. We'll spare your lives, but those who resist will definitely have their 9 generations annihilated." All the soldiers chose to surrender. It would be too foolish to resist now. After all, survival was the most important thing. As for moral integrity, they could just say it to others and not take it seriously. Before dawn, over 40,000 soldiers from the Iha country came down the mountain to surrender. Feng Jixing then reorganized them one by one and scattered them into the Empire's army. With that, the Iha country's influence had officially withdrawn from the stage of the continent's struggle for hegemony. At the same time, to the north of Winterfrost City, a new metal protective wall was being built. Wei Chou, Situ San, and the others were personally supervising the construction. The entire metal protective wall was 500 li long, spanning across the entire Lingdong province's northern territory. It was connected to the sea in the east and the Cloud Refinement Mountain Range in the west. Every 5 li, a magic crystal cannon would be set up to defend against the demonic race's invasion. This was the Empire's new war plan. With the metal protective wall in Lingdong province as the defensive line and the demonic race's princess Feng Ning, as the bait, they would attract the demonic race to attack and deplete their strength. In Lanyan City, Qin Yan was in charge and Su'er was in charge. It was as if the entire empire was entering a new era of prosperity. Chapter 622. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, for years had passed. The mountains in the Blood Abyss were continuous, weathered by wind and rain, and had long been covered with a thick layer of vegetation. Moreover, the spiritual energy in the mountains was vigorous, and many rare herbs grew. Cloud deer, badgers, and other animals traversed the mountains, making this forest a treasure land for hunters and medicine masters. However, there was a legend that said there was an immortal in the mountains. The sun and moon shone together, and he was immortal. He was proficient in spiritual spells and had many transformations. However, no one had ever seen such an immortal. It was the rainy season again. Rainwater dripped down into the forest and flowed along the green leaves into the grass, moistening the soil. On the cliff between the mountains, a figure could be faintly seen climbing up the cliff. It was a white-haired old man, carrying a small bamboo basket on his back, which contained a bunch of herbs. The old man's face was slightly red. He used the shovel to carefully poke at the roots of the herbs, afraid that he would hurt the roots and affect the medicinal properties of the herbs. About 10 meters below the cliff, a girl about 4 or 5 years old in green clothes looked up at the old man. Her big, watery eyes sparkled. She cupped her hands around her mouth and said softly, "Grandpa, be careful." The old man laughed. "Meng Yi, don't run around. Grandpa will come down after I pick this dragon grass." "Be careful," the girl pouted, as if she was not satisfied with her grandpa taking such a risk to pick herbs. In the blink of an eye, the dragon grass was pulled out by the old man. He held the protruding part of the rock with one hand and carefully threw the dragon grass into the bamboo basket with the other. Then he walked down the cliff step by step. However, the cliff was very slippery. About 3 meters above the ground, the old man suddenly missed a step and fell. Bang! Fortunately, there was grass below, but the old man was still hurt by the rocks in the grass. He gritted his teeth and cried out in pain. The girl hurried forward and supported the old man. "Grandpa, where are you hurt? Where are you hurt?" Seeing the girl's worried look, the old man endured the pain and laughed. He caressed the girl's braid and said, "Grandpa is fine. I'm just teasing you. Mengi, let's go. This dragon grass can be sold for a good price in the medicine shops in Bailing City. Maybe 20 Jin coins." Then I can buy a lot of candied fruits for you. Wu, the girl nodded. Her big eyes seemed to be able to speak. She held the old man's hand and walked out of the blood abyss step by step. 100 Ridge City was rebuilt to the south of the ruins, 50 miles away from the blood-red abyss. It had been reduced from a famous city with a population of 3 million to a small city with a population of less than 200,000. Most of the residents had been scattered to Sunset City and Shangyang City. This was also the reason why Feng Jixing had chosen Sunset City as the capital of Lingnan. In the rebuilt 100 Ridge City, there were groups of merchants. Before sunset the next day, the old man and the girl appeared in the city. The old man's name was Li Shu. He was a Jianghu doctor who collected and sold herbs for a living. He had a granddaughter in his old age, so he named her Li Mingye, which came from the dream leaf grass. Li Mingye held her grandpa's hand tightly. She knew that the dragon grass in the bamboo basket on her grandpa's back would be the family's income for the whole year. Her mother had fallen ill after giving birth to her and was bedridden for 5 years. Her grandpa was old and did not have much time to collect herbs. Moreover, her grandpa's alchemy skills were not good enough to extract the medicinal essence of the dragon grass to refine medicine. Therefore, he could only sell the herbs to make money. This dragon grass was the first valuable herb they had collected in the past 3 months. South Town Pharmacy, a pharmacy with only a shopkeeper. It was also one of the dozens of pharmacies in the small city. In the past, Li Shu would sell the herbs he collected from here. Oh, Uncle Li is here. The shopkeeper of the pharmacy was a fat man. His weight was at least 150 kilograms, making his 1.6-meter body look very plump and round. His eyes swept across Li Shu's bamboo basket and instantly lit up. He smiled and said, "Are you here to sell medicine and rice again?" Li Shu put down the bamboo basket and carefully took out the dragon grass. He said, "The roots of this dragon grass are plump. It should have been growing for a few years. Shopkeeper Lu, give me a good price." "Oh, you picked this in the bloody abyss, right? I heard that there are swift wolves in the bloody abyss. It's not easy for them to not tear your old bones to shreds." Shopkeeper Lu casually took the dragon grass and said, "The medicinal essence is indeed good. The medicinal essence is full. How about this? I'll give you 10 Jinin coins." "What? Only 10 Jinin coins?" Li Shu was stunned. He said, "Shopkeeper Lu, the dragon grass that Virtue Fortune Pharmacy bought half a month ago was 20 Jinin coins each. Moreover, those dragon grass are definitely not as full as this one. You see, I'm here to earn money to feed my family and cure my illnesses. I'm here to sell my herbs so that I don't have to pay the transaction fees. I have a family of old and young, so please don't cheat me. If that's the case, I might as well sell my herbs at the trading firm." "Old man, you really know how to talk." Shopkeeper Lu's eyes were filled with impatience. He said, Here are 30 Jinin coins. That should be enough for this dragon grass, right?" After counting the Jinin coins, Li Shu's eyes were instantly filled with smiles. He took out one of the Jinin coins and said, "Shopkeeper Lu, look, I want to buy a roasted chicken for my granddaughter. Can you help me convert this Jinin coin into 100 silver yin coins? Thank you." "So troublesome." Shopkeeper Lu took out a money bag impatiently. It was heavy with 100 silver yin coins. He said, "Here, take it. Hurry up and leave. Don't be an eyesore in front of my shop." "Thank you, Shopkeeper Lu." Li Shu held Li Mingye's hand and walked out of the pharmacy with a smile. He bought a bamboo leaf chicken from a stall and handed it to Li Mingye. He smiled and said, eat it. The rest of the money is for your mother's medicine." Li Mingye happily hugged the chicken and took a bite. Her smile became even more joyful. "Grandpa, it's so delicious." "Then eat more." However, the little girl tore off a delicious chicken leg and handed it to the old man. She smiled like a flower and said, "Grandpa, let's eat together." Li Shu was stunned. Grandpa is not hungry. Mingye is hungry, so Grandpa must be hungry too. If Grandpa doesn't eat, I won't eat either. The little girl blinked her big eyes and said sensibly. The old man was very touched. He took the chicken leg and ate it bite by bite. The little girl just looked at him, as if she was afraid that her grandpa would lie to her and hide the chicken leg for her. After turning a corner, 3 shifty-eyed men stared at Li Shu from afar. After all, 30 Jinin coins was not a small amount. It was enough for a family of 10 to eat and drink for several years. Second brother, do it. It's a little kid and an old man. Do it as soon as they enter the alley. One of the gangsters with a mustache said. Alright, do it. The old man who walked into the alley did not expect his misfortune to come. He suddenly suffered a heavy blow on the back of his head and the money bag on his waist was quickly snatched away. He wanted to scream but could not. Instead, it was the little girl who screamed and grabbed the leg of one of the gangsters. She shouted, "Bad guy, put down Grandpa's money. Someone come and catch the bad guy, catch the bad guy. Get out of my way." The gangster kicked Li Mingye's hand away and stepped on her neck. The little girl's face instantly turned red. "Let go of my granddaughter." Li Shu hurried forward and rammed into the gangster's waist from behind. "Die, old man." Another gangster swung a bamboo stick and hit the old man's leg heavily. Kachu, the sound of bones breaking could be heard. The old man's leg had been broken. "Grandpa, let go of my grandpa," the little girl cried. The gangsters looked at each other and didn't dare to make a fuss. One of them pointed at Li Shu and said, "If you King dare to say anything, I'll kill you. We're from the Heaven Book League." The Heavenly Book League was an external organization of the Northern Qi Mansion in Bailing City. It was responsible for reselling the heavenly books written by the Northern Qi Mansion to mercenaries and bandits. It was the largest gang in Bailing City. When the gangsters left, the old man looked depressed. The money he had worked hard for months was gone just like that. Li Mingye hurriedly helped her grandpa up and cried, "Grandpa, are you okay?" "Grandpa is fine. Mia, don't cry." The old man wiped the little girl's tears and looked into the distance, trembling. The Heavenly Book League was not something he could afford to offend. Even if he reported this to the government, it would be of no use. He struggled to stand up with the help of a wooden stick and said, "Mia, let's go. Let's go home, let's go home." Sob, sob, Grandpa. The little girl's face was full of tears. Looking at her grandpa, she felt an indescribable heartache. "Boss, how much is the bone healing medicine?" 2 days later, a young voice came from a small town in the southwest of Bailing City. Li Mingye held a pile of silver coins in her hands and asked timidly with her eyes wide open. "The superior bone healing medicine costs 2 gold coins. Little girl, your dozen silver coins are not even enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. Go, don't hinder our business. Boss, my grandpa is bedridden and needs medicine. Please do me a favor. Go away, we are a pharmacy, not a charity. Go away, don't hinder our business. If you want medicine that doesn't cost money, go into the mountains to pick herbs and grind them." Li Mingye's eyes were filled with tears of grievance. She turned to look in the direction of the Crimson Abyss and suddenly seemed to have made up her mind. In the Crimson Abyss, there were many mountains. In the depths of the mountains, in a pitch-black cave, starlight lingered around a stone statue. Suddenly, with a pa-cha sound, the rock where the stone statue's finger was cracked open. Starlight flowed, and a powerful finger slowly stretched out. With a pa-pa-pa sound, the rock that covered the stone statue's body cracked one after another. This young man who had slept in the rock for 4 years finally woke up. His face was covered with a beard, but his clear eyes revealed a deep sense of confusion. "Who am I? Where am I?" Chapter 623. Over the past 4 years, the demons had sent troops to attack the iron defense wall of the Empire in the north of Winterfrost City 7 times, but they were all defeated by the power of the magic crystal cannons. The magic crystal cannons were like a nightmare for the demons, stopping them from advancing. They were suppressed by Wei Chao's army in Tongtian province, unable to advance even half a step south. The wind in May blew the heat waves from the grassland into the fertile fields. A continuous iron defense wall connected the east and the west. On top of the defense wall, A group of generals wearing the armor of senior officers of the empire were facing the north, gazing in the direction of Tongtian province. It had been 4 years. Wei Chao's handsome face, which seemed to have been carved by wind and frost, showed a resolute contour. His eyes were a little confused as he said, "This attack has lasted for a month. I don't know when Qianfeng will attack the iron defense wall again, and how many times we can resist." Sigh. On the side, Citizen still maintained his youthful appearance. He had stepped into the sanctuary realm 3 years ago, and his appearance was forever unchanged. He put his hand on the hilt of his sword and said majestically, "We must resist as many times as Qianfeng attacks. The empire is in the stage of recuperation. Every province is being farmed, and there is no extra military force for us to replenish. We can only rely on ourselves." Wei Chou nodded and suddenly asked, "How is the situation in the Bloody Abyss?" "There is still no news from His Highness Yu. The Bloody Abyss has now become a continuous range of mountains and jungles for dozens of miles. Many hunters and herbalists have entered the Bloody Abyss, and we can't guard it at all. Therefore, I only send a legion of 1,000 to guard the Bloody Abyss every month. That's the only way. I really hope that His Highness can wake up soon." A flash of light flashed across Wei Chao's eyes. He said, "I always feel that Qianfeng's attacks in the past year are just a feint. He must be planning something. Qianfeng is sinister and cunning. We must be more vigilant." "Any news from Lanyan City?" "There's no news. We have been supplied with rations and equipment on time every month. Don't worry, Duke Wei. His Highness Qin Yan is personally supervising the rations, so there won't be any mistakes." Sidu Shui said respectfully. "That's good." Wei Chou looked back at Winterfrost City, which stood not far away, and said, "Winterfrost City is the heart of Winter Ridge Province. Continue to strengthen the walls and fortifications of Winterfrost City. If the steel walls can't stop the demons, we can only defend Winterfrost City." As the warm wind blew past, the capes of the generals of the Dragon's Courage Legion fluttered in the wind. Soldiers with bright swords and armor stood on the wall. Today, the Longdan army camp had expanded to 200,000 people, and it was worthy of being the strongest army in the empire. When Lin Muyu founded the Longdan army camp, she probably never thought that the Longdan army camp would be so powerful. Lanyan City, Sacred Temple. The star-picking finger emphasizes on both offense and defense. One finger to attack, and the other to defend. The starlight protects the body, and the enemy is invisible. A crisp voice described the profound meaning of the star-picking finger in the hall of the Sacred Temple's trial hall. It was none other than Chu Yao, who was wearing the robes of the Spirit Medicine Department's Great Deacon. Chu Yao was currently 33 years old, but she had mastered the 7th level of the star-picking finger 3 years ago. After she stepped into the sacred domain, her beauty was forever preserved, and she still looked like a 23 or 24-year-old teenager. A group of Gold Star and Silver Star instructors and sparring partners nodded their heads, listening to Chu Yao's words. At the side, the aged Guyang held the scroll in his trembling hands and said with a smile, "Someone, prepare some tea for Great Deacon Chu Yao. Yao, it's been hard on you. If it wasn't for you, I really don't know who else in the sacred temple is capable." Chu Yao smiled. "Grandpa Guyang is too polite. The Spirit Medicine Department and the Sacred Temple are originally one of the 3 departments of the Empire. Since the staff of the Sacred Temple want to learn my star-picking finger, then I am duty-bound to do it. I'm just afraid that I can't teach them well, and I will fail to fulfill Grandpa Guyang's trust." "How can that be?" Guyang sighed. Guyang sighed and said, "Ever since Great Deacon Xinyuan Hong ascended 4 years ago, there hasn't been a sacred domain expert in the Sacred Temple. It's all thanks to you, Yao, that you often come here to teach martial arts. Otherwise, I'm afraid that the Sacred Temple will continue to decline day by day. It's a pity that that brat Yu still refuses to wake up. Otherwise, with his cultivation, it would be more than enough for him to be the Great Deacon of the Sacred Temple. There wouldn't be a need for an old bag of bones like me to sit on the seat of the Great Deacon for the 2nd time." Sigh. At the mention of Lin Muyu, A hint of sadness immediately appeared on Chu Yao's beautiful face. She said, "You will definitely wake up, I believe in him. Perhaps, when you wakes up, he will also bring Her Highness Yin back alive. The two of them are not irresponsible people, they won't throw all the burdens on us." Yes, that's right. 4 years ago, in the blood-red abyss, Qin Yin was killed by Tang Xiaoxi. As the great deacon of the sacred temple, Xinyuan Hong failed to protect Qin Yin. Because of this, he was depressed for nearly half a year. Finally, Xinyuan Hong took the blame and resigned from his position as the great deacon of the sacred temple. On a night when lightning flashed, he ascended to the heaven realm and stepped into the divine domain to cultivate. As for the other elder of the empire, Chu Chu had been missing for many years. No one knew where he had gone. There were rumors that Chu Chu had cultivated in the mountains and had already ascended. There were also rumors that a hunter had seen traces of Chu Chu in the mountains. Riding on a spiritual crane, Xiaoyao was like an immortal. As for which rumor was more reliable, no one knew. In any case, Feng Jixing and Qin Yan felt that these rumors were not very reliable. However, Chu Chu was not a person who was obsessed with fame and status, so no one could blame him. Gu Yang held the scroll in his hand and looked at Chu Yao awkwardly. He said, "Yao." Halfway through his words, he suddenly stopped. Chu Yao stood on the training platform of the training hall. Condensing her fingers, a ray of starlight flickered on it. She could not help but smile. "Grandpa Gu Yang, if there's anything you want to say, just say it directly. There's no need to be embarrassed with me." Gu Yang said, "You see, Grandpa is also old. My old bones will not be able to move soon. How about I go to His Highness Qin Yan to resign from his position as the great deacon of the sacred temple. You will be the great deacon of both the sacred temple and the spiritual medicine department. How about that?" Chu Yao had a helpless expression. "Absolutely not. Let's not talk about the fact that I can't split myself. There has never been such a rule since ancient times. Grandpa Gu Yang, how about this? If you really want me to help you in the sacred temple, I will also be a sacred temple deacon. How about that?" Good. Gu Yang's face was full of joy. "That's great. With you in the sacred temple, no one will dare to bully us anymore. Yao, you are the younger sister of Chu Huai, one of the 4 heroes of Lanyan. Furthermore, you have already cultivated the star-plucking finger to the highest realm. That is enough to convince the masses." Chu Yao could not help but laugh. "So Grandpa Gu Yang is just worried about this?" "Yes. I really hope that brat you can return early. That way, I can return the great deacon position to him. I won't have to do everything myself." Yes, no one wishes for that brat to wake up early. In the blood-red abyss, there was a dense jungle. At this time, it was raining heavily. Raindrops slid down from the branches and leaves of the jungle, continuously soaking into the soil that was once known as the Forbidden Land. Sha. On the peak of the mountain, a pile of withered grass and fallen leaves were pushed aside. In an extremely secretive cave among the rocks, a young man in ragged clothes pushed open the entrance of the cave and slowly climbed out. The light outside was very dazzling. He had not seen the light for a long time. He stumbled out of the cave. Suddenly, there seemed to be something stuck in the rock at the entrance of the cave. He exerted force, and with a zing sound, a rusty longsword fell from his back. The ring of the stellar sword scabbard was already rusty. This young man was undoubtedly Lin Muyu. However, at this moment, Lin Muyu had no idea who he was. His mind was blank. He did not even know what the sword was called. So troublesome. He picked up the stellar sword and carefully looked at the patterns on the scabbard and hilt. He raised his hand to hold the hilt and suddenly pulled. However, the blade seemed to be rusty and did not move at all. So it is just a piece of scrap metal? He frowned and still carried the longsword on his back. At this moment, a rumbling sound came from his stomach. He was hungry. He had been hungry for 4 years. It was just that he did not know it. There were wild fruits in the mountain. He leaped a few meters and climbed up an apple tree like a spirit ape. He plucked an apple and took a big bite. It was sour but not bad. It was edible. Not long after, a pile of fruit cores fell from the tree. Lin Muyu ate until he was half full. He leaned against the tree trunk and rested for a moment. Wang! Suddenly, there seemed to be a response in his mind. A sea of flames burned in his mind, and he even saw a beautiful face. Who is she? Lin Muyu did not know who she was, but he knew that he must save her. 9 Revolution Spirit Medicine? 9 Revolution Spirit Medicine? He did not know why, but there seemed to be someone muttering this term in his mind. Then, he seemed to recall some memory fragments. That's right, 9 Revolution Spirit Medicine. The Heaven's Heart Grass and Soul Returning Grass were refined according to the ratio of 9 to 1. It could revive the dead. Heaven's Heart Grass. Heaven's Heart Grass. He did not know who he wanted to save, nor did he know who he was. However, he knew that if he could find the Heaven's Heart Grass and refine the 9 Revolution Spirit Medicine, he might be able to find the answer he wanted. He jumped down from the tree and landed in the forest after a few jumps. Lin Muyu looked around, looking for the legendary Heaven's Heart Grass. However, Heaven's Heart Grass was a level 10 medicine. It was not easy to find it. When the heavy rain was about to stop, a new traveler came to the jungle. It was a girl with a bamboo stick in her hand. She had worn out her straw sandals and her toes were pierced by sharp rocks. She was bleeding, but she couldn't care less. Her little heart was filled with her grandpa's seriously injured appearance. She had to find the spirit stone grass that could heal bones. Chapter 624. When night fell, the mountain wind was exceptionally cold. Li Mingye was only wearing a thin layer of clothing. She did not know what the mystic stone grass looked like, only that it emitted a refreshing fragrance. Thus, Li Mingye used the bamboo stick to walk through the increasingly dark forest, desperately sniffing with her nose. As the night grew darker, Li Mingye shivered from the cold. She took out a piece of almost moldy flatbread from her bosom and bit into it. Then she used her hands to pull the huge broad leaves in the forest and drank the rainwater that fell from the leaves. Woo woo! The sound of the wind was mixed with the howling of wolves. Immediately, the girl gripped the bamboo stick tightly and looked around with a pair of large eyes full of vigilance. After a while, only a wild rabbit scurried through the forest. Forget it, why don't I look for it tomorrow morning? Li Mingye bent down and sat under a large tree, hugging her knees. She was so tired that she was about to faint, and in the blink of an eye, she fell asleep. She did not know how long she slept for, but suddenly, her nose was filled with a refreshing fragrance. That was the smell of roasted meat? Li Mingye immediately woke up and turned to look. There was a faint fire coming from a small valley not far away, as if there was someone there. However, Li Mingye knew that anyone who stayed in the Crimson Abyss in the middle of the night was not a good person. At this time, her stomach growled again. That small piece of flatbread was the last of Li Mingye's food. She could not help but feel so wrong that she was about to cry. However, the fragrance in the distance was getting stronger and stronger. Finally, the girl could not stand it anymore. She stood up and walked towards the valley. Her straw sandals were already worn out, and the soles of her feet stung when she stepped on the sharp rocks, but she could endure it. The strong hunger was driving her crazy. The moment she climbed up the small hill, she saw an extremely handsome young man in tattered clothes roasting a wild rabbit in the valley. The meat was already cooked, and the oil flowed on the surface, emitting a desirable fragrance. Gulp! Li Mingye swallowed her saliva and stared at the person in the valley from afar with her big round eyes. However, she did not notice that behind her, 2 pairs of red eyes were faintly discernible in the forest, slowly approaching her. Impressively, they were 2 adult swift wolves, also the frequent guests of this forest at night. Roar! Li Mingye finally woke up when the wolves roared. She recognized wolves and was scared out of her wits. After a scream, she held the bamboo pole with her tender hands and pointed it at the 2 wolves in the distance. At the same time, her body involuntarily retreated. Roar! The wolves opened their mouths wide, mucus dripping down from their teeth. It had been a long time since they had seen such a delicious meal. One of the wolves rushed over and bit down on Li Mingye. Catch it! The bamboo pole broke, and the girl rolled down the hill like a ball under the impact of the swift wolf. Roar! Another swift wolf chased after her and bit Li Mingye's neck at lightning speed. Ah! The girl only had time to let out a cry of alarm, but at this moment, suddenly a figure like lightning appeared in front of her. It was the person who roasted the rabbit meat in the valley, only to see him raise his arm horizontally, a faint true energy lingering around his palm, suddenly sweeping out. Bang! Blood splattered. The wolf's head was actually smashed by him. Lin Muyu's body suddenly charged forward, her fist flying out, smashing the other wolf into pieces. Instantly, the wolf's blood splattered all over Lin Muyu's body. Lin Muyu frowned, wiping his bloodied palm on the wolf's carcass. When he turned around, he saw the girl behind him staring at him with a pair of big bright eyes. So powerful. There was a bit of excitement in Li Mingye's eyes. She said, "Who are you? Where did you come from?" "I don't know who I am." Lin Muyu sat down again, tore off a rabbit leg and ate it. She said, "I don't know where I come from. I live in this mountain." Live in the mountain? Li Mingye sat in front of Lin Muyu with great interest, hugging her knees, and said with burning eyes, "Immortal, you are an immortal, aren't you?" Grandpa said that a few years ago, this jungle was called the Scarlet Abyss. A god named Lin Muyu was sleeping in the Scarlet Abyss. You are him, you are that god, that immortal, right? Lin Muyu frowned. After entering the Forgotten Realm, he could not remember anything, let alone what a god was, so he said impatiently, "I don't know who Lin Muyu is. I am not an immortal. You should leave quickly. It is dangerous here, not suitable for you." "Immortal, immortal." Li Mingye cheered and said, "I saw an immortal. Immortal, can you summon the wind and rain, swallow clouds and spit out mist?" Lin Muyu said coldly, "Then immortal, do you know how to turn stone into gold, cast beans into soldiers?" "No." Lin Muyu was already very irritated. "Immortal, immortal." Li Mingye stared at him with her big watery eyes. "Do you know about the spiritual stone grass?" "I don't know." After Lin Muyu finished speaking, he suddenly realized that in his short memory, there seemed to be traces of the spiritual stone grass, so he asked, "Why do you ask about the spiritual stone grass?" "Grandpa's leg was broken by a bad person. I want the spiritual stone grass as medicine to treat Grandpa." "Tisk, how old are you, and you still want to treat people?" Lin Muyu smiled disdainfully. Li Mingye did not speak anymore. Her big watery eyes stared at the rabbit meat in Lin Muyu's hand, and she only swallowed her saliva. Lin Muyu looked up and felt a little annoyed. She tore off another rabbit's hind leg and placed it in front of the girl, saying, "Eat this. After you're done, spend the night in the cave over there. Leave at daybreak tomorrow. This is not a place you should be in." "Thank you, Immortal." Li Mingye took the rabbit leg and thanked him happily, then began to reject it, and in the blink of an eye, she finished it. Lin Muyu secretly complained, how could this child eat so much? So he tore off another big piece of rabbit meat and handed it to her, saying, "Here, this is for you too." Li Mingye's face was full of joy. "Thank you, you really are an immortal." Grandpa said that the gods in the empire are good people who pity the state of the universe. They save the suffering and enlighten the lost. "Really?" Lin Muyu sneered, although she did not know why she sneered. Late at night, Lin Muyu found some hay to spread in the cave, so that Li Mingye could sleep well, while he leaned against the stone wall, searching for the power in his body, but it seemed that all the power in his body was sealed. He could feel the waves of divine power in his Ihai, but he could not summon a single strand of divine power, as if the power had been forgotten, and he could only use a little true qi. Sigh. He sighed, looked at the starry sky, and muttered to himself, "Who am I? Why am I here? Immortal." Beside him, Li Mingye turned over in her sleep, hugged Lin Muyu's wrist, and said with a sweet smile, "I saw an immortal, I saw an immortal, immortal." Lin Muyu could not help but smile lightly. "I am an immortal? What a joke! What a fool!" The next day at dawn, Lin Muyu roasted another wild rabbit, and after sharing it with the girl, said, "Okay, let's go our separate ways. You go find your spirit stone grass, I go find mine. Immortal, what are you looking for?" The girl asked with wide eyes. None of your business. Lin Muyu had even forgotten who she was, so naturally she felt very annoyed and said, "Don't bother me anymore." Li Mengye looked wronged, said, "I just want to help you." "Help me?" Lin Muyu sneered. "Didn't you say that I am an immortal? Immortals are omnipotent, why would I need your help?" Yes, immortals are omnipotent." Li Mengye clapped her hands and laughed. "Then Immortal, can you tell me where the spirit stone grass is?" "I don't know." Lin Muyu was about to break down, and pointed to the front. "You go east, I go west, and we won't disturb each other." "But Immortal, you are pointing to the south." "Me?" Lin Muyu's state of mind was undoubtedly broken at this moment, and with a leap, his feet flew over the small hill like the wind, and in the blink of an eye, he was already a few miles away, shaking off the little girl behind him. "Omnipotent Immortal?" He laughed coldly. "If I am omnipotent, I will know who I am." "Immortal! Immortal!" Li Mengye's voice echoed in the forest for a while, and she finally gave up looking for the Immortal, and found the broken bamboo pole. Although it was already broken, it was her only weapon. Grandpa said that there were many snakes in the mountains, and she still needed to rely on the bamboo pole to fight them. The girl's straw sandals were completely worn out, so she simply took them off and climbed the mountain rocks barefoot. Spirit stone grass was said to be a type of herb that grew in the cracks of the rocks, and it absorbed the essence of heaven and earth to grow. Moreover, there were so many people who went into the mountains to collect herbs, so if she wanted to find the spirit stone grass, she had to go to the more dangerous mountains. Until noon, the girl was already halfway up the mountain, in a place where there were few people. "Huh!" Li Mengye suddenly exclaimed. She saw a short pine tree in front of her, and there was a nearly 2 meters long snake coiled around it, blocking her way. "Go away, big snake." She used the bamboo pole to slap it with all her might, and the snake was not poisonous, so it was actually scared and slithered away with its tail between its legs. "Umph." The girl put her hands on her waist, like a little general who had returned victorious. She walked forward and used the bamboo pole to push aside the branches and leaves of the pine tree. Impressively, she saw a fiery red herb growing in the cracks of the rocks and under the pine tree. At the end of the herb, there were small red beads, which were as round as a heart. "Oh, what is this? Perhaps it's very valuable." The girl cheerfully uprooted the herb, wrapped it in a cloth, and tied it around her waist. She continued forward, looking for the spirit stone grass. The next day, Li Mengye went down the mountain, but she did not find the spirit stone grass. She only found the fiery red herb on her waist, which was as clear as jade. The herb could not be dried for too long, or else its medicinal properties would evaporate, so she had to go back early to let someone see what kind of herb it was, and whether it was valuable. Chapter 625. Around noon, the sun hung high in the sky above the blood abyss. Amidst the mountains, a group of people was moving slowly. Some of them were wearing armor, while others were wearing embroidered robes. However, each of them was riding a fine horse. The empire had been at war for close to 10 years, and horses had long become a rarity. Moreover, these very fine horses were even rarer. This group of people was clearly either rich or noble. There were more than 20 of them, and they were meandering through the mountains. In the crowd, a warrior with a sword hanging from his waist was stroking his beard. His eyes were gleaming, and it was clear that his cultivation was not low. This person was called Northern Qihong, and he was one of the retainers of the Northern Qi Prefecture in Bailing City. He was at the first level of the Heaven Realm, and the heavenly book at his waist was enough to prove his identity. Next to Northern Qihong was an old man around 70 years old. Although he was old, his face was full of vigor. He must have taken good care of himself. Huang Yuan, the #1 alchemist in Lingnan province, had the title of King of Medicine. It was said that not long ago, he had refined a 9th-level medicine. This time, the Northern Qi Prefecture had sent a group of people to protect him in the blood abyss in order to find rare herbs. "Sir King of Medicine." Hong of Northern Qi smiled respectfully. If we can find the longevity grass and refine the longevity medicine for Master Ing of Northern Qi, that will be a great accomplishment. Perhaps the old man will be so happy that he will immediately bestow upon you the position of governor of a province. Huang Yuan couldn't help but laugh. Whether or not we can find it will depend on luck. But Northern Qi's Master Ing is blessed by the heavens. I believe he will definitely find the longevity grass to extend his life. Northern Qi Hong nodded. Yes, if that is the case, the master will not need to use the heavenly book of life to extend his life. That goes against the heavens. The Northern Qi government had forced Tang Lan to her death at the old site of Bailing City, but this matter had always been hidden from the world. Most of the commoners who had witnessed the calamity had already died under Tang Xiaoxi's bloody claws. After the empire was rebuilt, the Northern Qi government immediately chose to pledge loyalty to Feng Jixing. Feng Jixing also needed someone to hold down the fort in Lingnan province, so he gave the head of the Northern Qi government, Northern Qi Ing, the title of chief administrator of Lingnan province, and ordered him to rebuild Bailing City. If it were not for the Northern Qi government, Bailing City would probably not have reached its current scale. It would have long been a dead city. However, Feng Jixing allowed the Northern Qi prefecture to govern Bailing City, which made the Northern Qi prefecture even more reckless and frivolous. The Northern Qi prefecture established the Heavenly Book League, privately bought and sold Heavenly Book weapon embryos, and deceived their superiors and subordinates. Only the heavens knew how many heartless things they had done. It was not that Feng Jixing was unaware of this, but he was busy dealing with chaos everywhere and could not find the time to deal with the Northern Qi prefecture. The mountain path was rugged. As they walked, they suddenly saw a girl limping down the mountain path. Her feet were a bloody mess, but her little face was full of stubbornness. She continued to walk down the mountain step by step. She held half a bamboo pole in her hand, and there were tears on her face. She must have fallen and cried in pain. There is a girl in the mountain? Northern Qi Hong looked from afar and couldn't help but frown. Huang Yuan's gaze turned cold. He narrowed his eyes at the cloth bag hanging from the girl's waist and said, "Sir Northern Qi, I think I have seen the herb hanging from the girl's waist in the pharmacopoeia." "Oh, what rare herb is it?" "It is Heavenly Heart Grass, a level 10 herb." "What?" Northern Qi Hong was stunned. "How is this possible? How could a mere girl have Heavenly Heart Grass?" "Who knows? There are remnants of Qin Yin's divine power in the Crimson Abyss. Perhaps it was this divine power that gave birth to many rare herbs. Otherwise, why do you think so many people would flock to the Crimson Abyss?" "What do we do? Do we take the Heavenly Heart Grass or not?" Northern Qi Hong asked coldly. Huang Yuan's face was full of greed. "Heavenly Heart Grass is the most precious treasure in the world. If we don't take it, someone else will. This girl is just a country girl and doesn't deserve it. Sir Northern Qi, Heavenly Heart Grass grows in the Bloody Abyss, and the Bloody Abyss is within the borders of Bailing City. All of Bailing City belongs to the Northern Qi prefecture. Naturally, this Heavenly Heart Grass belongs to the Northern Qi prefecture. We are just taking back what belongs to us." "Huh, very well." Northern Qi Hong immediately urged his horse forward. He pointed from afar and said, "Hey girl, stop right there." Li Mingye had already begun to take the grass from the thorny area, but she still couldn't escape the eyes of these people. She stood where she was in a daze. She could see that Northern Qi Hong was an official. The 2 stars on his collar were not fake. She said respectfully, "Sir, you called me for something?" "Of course. What is your name?" "Li Mingye." "Where did you steal the grass on your waist?" "I didn't steal it," Li Mingye argued. "I picked it up in the mountains." "I didn't steal it. How dare you say you didn't steal it?" Northern Qi Hong's eyes were ferocious. "This mountain belongs to Bailing City. I am the guardian of Bailing City. This mountain is mine. You picked the grass on my mountain and you dare say you didn't steal it? Give it to me." "No." Although Li Mingye was young, she knew that the grass must be valuable. She held the Heavenly Heart Grass and said, "This is the money for Grandpa and Mother's treatment. You can't take it." How dare you? Northern Chi Hong suddenly raised his horse whip and lashed at the air. Pa! A bloody mark immediately appeared on Li Mingye's neck. Blood seeped out, but she endured the pain without making a sound. She covered the heavenly heart grass with both hands and ran into the bushes to the side. You dare to run? Northern Chi Hong pulled out his steel sword. He was ready to kill. He urged his horse to give chase. Li Mingye walked barefoot. How could she outrun a warhorse? In the blink of an eye, Northern Chi Hong had caught up. You're courting death. The steel sword fell from the sky and slashed at Li Mingye's back. If the sword fell, Li Mingye would almost certainly die. Just as the steel sword fell, a black shadow swept over from afar. Clang! The steel sword was knocked away, and the black shadow pierced into the rock behind Northern Chi Hong with a swoosh. With a buzzing sound, it was a long sword with a sheath. It was not pulled out at all, or perhaps it could not be pulled out at all. Li Mingye was so scared that her face turned pale. She turned around and saw a familiar figure. It was Lin Muyu, wrapped in animal skin. He had already taken off his rusty armor and replaced it with a newly killed animal skin. Immortal! Immortal, save me! The girl cried for help. Immortal? Northern Chi Hong could not help but laugh. What kind of immortal are you? You're just a poor hunter. He spurred his horse forward with a shocking momentum. Lin Muyu faced him head-on, gathering the Jinchi in her arms. Just as Northern Chi Hong's sword was about to land, Lin Muyu spun around to avoid the attack. She swung her arms and landed a heavy blow on Northern Chi Hong's back. Bang! Northern Chi Hong groaned. He was in pain but not injured. Lin Muyu's Jinchi was at most at the third tier of the Earth state. It would be difficult for her to hurt a heavenly realm warrior like Northern Chi Hong. But Lin Muyu took advantage of the situation and flew past. She grabbed the stellar sword with one hand and pulled it out of the rock with the scabbard. She leaped and hit Northern Chi Hong's shoulder heavily before he could turn around. Boom! The astral power burst forth. Lin Muyu's supreme divine power had been forgotten, but the sharpness of the astral tactics was still there. The power of the blade through the scabbard was still too much for Northern Chi Hong to handle, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. For you! Northern Chi Hong retreated on his horse and roared, Do you know who I am? How dare you hit me? Lin Muyu ignored him. She just looked at Li Mingye and asked, What's wrong? Li Mingye said pitifully, They wanted to steal my herb. Here, Lin Muyu shivered. That herb was very familiar. It was the legendary heavenly heart herb. No wonder this person wanted to kill Li Mingye. It was the precious heavenly heart herb. Immortal, do you know what herb this is? It's heavenly heart herb, Lin Muyu said lightly. It's an herb that can bring the dead back to life. It's also the herb I'm looking for. Li Mingye smiled. Immortal, are you looking for the heavenly heart herb to save someone? Save who? A very important friend. Who is she? I don't know. Lin Muyu fell into confusion again. Then, this heavenly heart herb is for you. Li Mingye's little face was full of smiles. She was so innocent that she could not imagine the value of the heavenly heart herb. It was enough to feed her family for 10,000 years. Are you done talking? Northern Chi Hong's face was full of anger. If you are, shouldn't I make my move? At this time, a dozen Northern Chi Mansion guards appeared behind Northern Chi Hong. He laughed coldly. Even a scum like you has the nerve to call yourself an immortal. How interesting. Little girl, I'll send you and your immortal to hell. And shoot. The dozen guards shot their arrows at the same time. Lin Muyu hurriedly protected Li Mingye behind her. Her stellar sword danced with its scabbard to block the arrows. She shouted, Run! Are you waiting to be shot into porcupines? Li Mingye's face was full of panic. She held the heavenly heart herb in her arms and ran straight into the fields. There were rocks everywhere, not suitable for war horses. She was a very smart girl. Lin Muyu quickly retreated. After a few leaps, she disappeared into the mountains, following Li Mingye. Damn it! Bastard! Seeing that the heavenly heart herb was gone, Northern Chi Hong was furious. He shouted in a low voice, Men, write a letter back to Bailing City. Ask Master Fan Yun to come and help us kill this kid. Behind him, Huang Yuan slowly approached. His eyes shone with a faint light. He said, "Wait, Sir Northern Chi Hong. Haven't you noticed that this person is very strange?" "What's strange about him?" "His blade is not out of its scabbard, but it is very powerful. Furthermore, his appearance is very similar to a legendary person. More importantly, his boots, they are commander-level boots made by the Empire 5 years ago. I remember them very clearly." "Sir King of Medicine, are you saying that this kid is the Lin Muyu sleeping in the blood-red abyss?" Northern Chi Hong was stunned. He could not help but laugh. "This is impossible, absolutely impossible." Before Lin Muyu fell asleep again, he displayed his divine power. He is a god. If he really was a god, I'm afraid I would have been killed just now. Yes, because of this. Huang Yuan's eyes shone with a fierce light. He said, "This proves that Lin Muyu's power has been sealed. If we don't kill him now, when will we?" Lin Muyu is Feng Jixing's brother. If we kill Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, if we don't say anything, who in the world will know that we killed Lin Muyu? Okay, go and ask Master Fan Yun to come immediately. Chapter 626. Bang! Yu Shu's letter was slammed onto the table. In the master's manor of New Bai Ling City, the Northern Chi Eagle's face was full of anger. His eyes were full of murderous intent as he said, "I have waited for so many years. Lin Muyu, you have finally appeared." Beside him, the eldest Northern Chi Yun said, "Father, since Lin Muyu has reappeared, then, and he has lost his power. Why don't we take advantage of this rare opportunity to get rid of him?" The Northern Chi Eagle said lightly, "If it was not for Lin Muyu's interference, your brother Northern Chi Huan would not have died so tragically in the White Leaves Forest. This enmity is irreconcilable and must be avenged. Venerable Fan Yun, this trip will depend on you." A martial artist who was about 40 years old with an arrogant face stood up and cupped his fists. "If it is really like what is written in Yu Yu's letter that Lin Muyu only has less than half of his cultivation left, this subordinate promises to bring back his head for Governor Darren. For years ago Lin Muyu turned into a god in the blood-red abyss and killed my master and dozens of my brothers. This blood feud will be avenged here." The Northern Chi Eagle nodded and said, "If the Venerable Sir really kills Lin Muyu, I am willing to recommend you as the Chief Staff Officer of Lingnan Province." "Thank you, Governor. Other than that, bring back Lin Muyu's stellar sword. Lin Muyu must have many treasures in his dimensional bag. The legendary Fushi's heavenly book may be among them. Once we find it, I will go with the Venerable Sir." All right. Not long after, under the protection of hundreds of cavalry, the Northern Chi Eagle and Fan Yun galloped out of Bailing City. The group looked serious and murderous. Crimson abyss, mountains and forests. It began to rain again. The rain pitter-pattered on the leaves. Lin Muyu held the unsheathed stellar sword as he sped along. Behind him, Li Mingye stumbled along. "Immortal, wait for me! Immortal, wait for me!" Lin Muyu suddenly turned around, his eyes revealing a cold glint. "Don't follow me, I've said it before, since I can pick heavenly heart grass in this forest, then there must be other heavenly heart grass. I will go look for them myself. You don't need to send me off. There's a small path to the north that leads straight to the foot of the mountain. Take advantage of the fact that their people haven't caught up to us. Hurry up and leave. You're so weak. It would be a pity to die in this mountain." The girl hugged the heaven's heart grass, tilted her head and looked at him, saying, Then if I leave and they come to seek revenge, they won't be able to find me, and the immortals will be in trouble." Lin Muyu was annoyed and said, "Didn't you say that I'm an immortal? Immortals are omnipotent, so it doesn't matter if they find trouble with me." But, the girl furrowed her brows and said, "But the immortal doesn't seem to be able to defeat those people just now. Otherwise, the immortal would have already defeated the bad guy." Lin Muyu wanted to say something but stopped, his heart full of regret. He could feel the vast divine power in his body, but this power didn't seem to belong to him. He couldn't use it, as if it was something he had forgotten. Clenching his fists, he gritted his teeth and stared at the little girl. Anyway, hurry up and leave. Isn't your grandfather still waiting for you to treat him? Go, it's too dangerous here, not to mention those powerful people. Even the wolves in the mountains can eat you. Look at you, skinny as a match. How much strength can your fists have? Hurry up and leave, don't drag me down anymore. But the girl's eyes were already brimming with tears. She said, But grandfather said that immortals are omnipotent. They are all good people who save the common people and help the weak. Immortals can't just abandon me like this. Lin Muyu suddenly jumped in front of the girl, looking at her fiercely, his face full of annoyance. Power enshrouded his fists, stirring up the fallen leaves, but he still couldn't summon too much power. He said angrily, You see, this is all I can do. I can't beat them. I can't protect you. Hurry up and leave. Don't drag me down. But you are an immortal living in the mountains. The girl looked at him with great grievance. Sigh. Lin Muyu gritted his teeth. Don't follow me anymore. I'll go find the heavenly heart grass myself to refine medicine to save people. Don't die in the mountains. This knife is for you to protect yourself. Take the knife and leave. He raised his hand and pulled out a small demonic noise knife from his waist. At this time, Lin Muyu naturally didn't know that the demonic noise knife was a treasure. He directly threw the sharp knife into the rocks, piercing a few centimeters in. Li Mingye's pair of beautiful eyes were full of joy. It's a treasure bestowed by the immortal. She used all her strength to pull out the knife, smiling as she said, Immortal, do you know how to refine medicine? Immortal, teach me how to refine medicine, okay? However, when Li Mingye pulled out the knife and turned to look again, she only saw the figure of Lin Muyu leaping into the forest. The girl couldn't help but be disappointed. Holding the little demonic noise knife, she said, Immortal, you still haven't taught me how to refine medicine. I want to learn how to refine medicine to cure my mother's illness. Immortal, where have you been? At dusk, the rain stopped, and the sound of horse hooves could be heard in the forest. Northern Chi Hong raised his sword and rode forward. Master Fan Yun, you've come. Where is he? Northern Chi Eagle said coldly. It's right in this forest. Northern Chi Hong smiled slightly. My black feather is following him. In that direction, we can go there and capture him. There's no need to capture him, just kill him, Northern Chi Eagle lightly said. Lin Muyu is a sleeping dragon. If you can kill him in his sleep, then don't go looking for trouble. Someone, prepare the heavenly book embryo. If Fan Yun the Venerable is no match for Lin Muyu, use the heavenly book to keep him in check. First use the wind element lower level heavenly book, then use the earth element middle level heavenly book, and kill him in one move. Sir. A group of guards all pulled out their sharp blades, and a faint divine light floated on all of their blades. A number of them were of the heavenly book grade. In the blink of an eye, for years had passed. There were many people in the land who could write heavenly books, and there were even more who could write earthly books. Earthly books were no longer rare. Presently, it was the world of heavenly books, and as the foremost heavenly book family in Lingnan, the Northern Chi Prefecture did not lack for heavenly book embryos. In order to kill Lin Muyu, Northern Chi Eagle took out almost all of his wealth, using all 5 heavenly book grade embryos he had written in 4 years. In the mountain forest, an agile figure climbed back and forth between the mountain rocks. It was Lin Muyu, who carried the stellar sword on her back. A faint Shunchi light lingered around her battle boots. Each leap left a shallow footprint on the mountain rocks. Unfortunately, although the spiritual energy in the mountain was abundant and medicinal herbs grew everywhere, she still did not see the heavenly heart grass. When she leaped up, she suddenly saw a black shadow circling in the air. It was a falcon. It seemed that he had been circling above her for a long time. Lin Muyu couldn't help but furrow his brows. This falcon seemed to have ill intentions. Had she already been targeted? In a moment of distraction, her feet slipped and she lost her footing. Her entire body immediately fell down the rock wall. Her right hand trembled. In a moment of desperation, she condensed a faint king's fighting flame. Her hand grabbed onto the rock wall like a sharp claw. Only then did she stop her body. Whoosh, whoosh. Looking down at the bottomless abyss, she couldn't help but feel a lingering fear. If she had fallen down, she would certainly have been smashed to pieces. After all, she wasn't a real immortal. Right? She didn't even know who she was. Perhaps she really was an immortal. Looking at the faint king's fighting flame that lingered around her palm, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. Her naturally optimistic spirit was useful at this time. If she really was a god, then she wouldn't be afraid of any mortal spying on her. At this moment, Lin Muyu glanced around and saw a green medicinal herb growing between the rock peaks. It emitted a faint fragrance. The appearance of this herb was very familiar. Yes, it was the spirit stonegrass, a rare herb that could speed up the healing of bones. It was also the herb that the little girl had been looking for to heal her grandfather. That stupid girl. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and raised her hand to pick the spirit stonegrass and put it into her bosom. If she could see the stupid girl again, she would give this spirit stonegrass to her. However, in this forest of mountains, it would be too difficult to see her again. Kiki. The cries of the falcon in the sky became more and more mournful. Lin Muyu climbed up and stepped on a green rock. Looking up at the falcon, she frowned and said, "Who raised this feathered beast? I can't let it live." He picked up a small stone, slowly bent his body, and suddenly threw it. Whoosh! The falcon in the sky screamed and rolled a few times in the air. Flustered and exhausted, it flapped its wings and flew down. It was injured, but it didn't seem to be fatal. Count yourself lucky. Lin Muyu's lips curled up. Jumping up to another rock, she continued to look for heaven's heart grass. Hey you! At the bottom of the mountain, Northern Chi Hong frowned and said, "Master, it's not good. Hey Yu is injured. It must be Lin Muyu's doing. She has already discovered Hey Yu's existence." Where's Lin Muyu? On the east side of the mountain. Full speed ahead. Yes. After nightfall, Lin Muyu's search for heaven's heart grass was fruitless, so he could only go down the mountain. Along the way, he used a stone to kill 2 wild rabbits and used them as food. He began to gradually familiarize himself with this body and felt the power in his body. However, he couldn't recall all of his abilities in such a short amount of time. After going down the mountain, he picked up a pile of firewood and used the king's fighting flame to light a fire. After skinning the wild rabbits and removing their innards, he placed them on the fire to roast. Then, he gripped the stellar sword and slowly used force to pull it out. However, the blade was completely sewn and could not be pulled out. "It can't really just be a piece of scrap metal, can it?" he said angrily. However, Lin Muyu was completely unaware that in the forest behind him, cold poisoned arrows were already aimed at him, waiting to be fired. The sound of bowstrings being pulled taut mixed with the night mountain wind. Northern Chi Eagle stood in the forest in a black robe. Looking at the completely unaware Lin Muyu, he lightly said, "Release the arrows. Kill him." Chapter 627. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The arrows rained down on Lin Muyu, catching her completely off guard. Her battle chi converged behind her, forming a suit of battle armor that deflected the arrows one by one. Clanging sounds rang out in the air. Oh no, he has battle armor. Northern Chi Eagle's intestines were green with regret. If he had known earlier, he would have ordered his attendants to use white drill arrows. Draw your swords, go. A group of guards threw away their bows and arrows, pulled out their swords, and charged forward. These were all attendants skilled in close combat, and they were also the strongest guards that Northern Chi Eagle had raised for many years. Lin Muyu stood up. Holding the stellar sword that could not be unsheathed, she looked coldly at the crowd and said, "Just who are you people? Why do you keep finding trouble with me?" A guard laughed sinisterly. "We are people who want your worthless life." The sword light flew. There were a few Heaven Realm warriors in this group. Lin Muyu almost instinctively swung her sword to block. After the scabbard knocked away a guard's long sword, her body spun, and the hilt of the sword, which contained great power, slammed heavily into the guard's chest. Her battle boots flew out and sent the first Heaven Realm guard flying. It was clear that Lin Muyu's strength was recovering. Northern Qi Hong's heart chilled. 3 to 5 Heaven Realm warriors attacked together, but they couldn't do anything to Lin Muyu. He quickly turned to Northern Qi Eagle and said, "Master, Lin Muyu's strength is constantly recovering. I believe it won't be long before he recovers. Fan Yun, please attack immediately and kill Lin Muyu before his strength recovers." "Okay, that's what I was thinking." Fan Yun's gaze turned cold. He had already stepped out of the forest, and the pressure of his domain spread out in the surroundings. Immediately, the guards who were fighting retreated. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The pressure of his domain made the gravel on the ground tremble. Fan Yun walked toward Lin Muyu with his hands behind his back like an expert. There was a faint smile on his lips. "Lin Muyu, do you still recognize me?" "Lin Muyu? Who did you say is Lin Muyu? And who are you? Do you know me?" Lin Muyu felt as if she had grabbed onto a life-saving straw. Someone actually knew who she was. Of course I know you. You massacred my sect. I haven't settled this debt with you yet." Fan Yun's domain pressure became stronger and stronger. Finally, with a bang, the animal skin robe in front of Lin Muyu's chest exploded. This kind of animal skin could no longer withstand the pressure of Fan Yun's concentrated force field. Immediately after, the stones around Lin Muyu also exploded. Lin Muyu naturally didn't feel good either. His body felt like it was about to be crushed. Although he wanted to resist, he didn't know how to do so. He had already forgotten how to condense pressure to resist a strong enemy's force field. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Lin Muyu suddenly knelt down on one knee. However, she silently pulled out a small demonic noise blade from her waist and pressed it firmly into the grass. Fan Yun stepped forward, his face full of arrogance. He raised his right foot and stepped on the back of Lin Muyu's head. His laughter became even more arrogant. God, this is a god. Is this the god Lin Muyu revered by the empire as a god? You are so weak. I only need to use a little bit of strength to crush you into mincemeat. Poor thing. But at this moment, Lin Muyu suddenly raised her hand and struck. The demonic noise blade slashed across Fan Yun's leg. Blood flowed. Fan Yun was caught off guard. His leg twitched in pain. Lin Muyu didn't say anything. Her left fist trembled. The king's fighting flame raged. She suddenly punched Fan Yun's chest and shouted, "Get out of my way!" Bang! Under the heavy blow, Fan Yun flew back like a cannonball. He only stopped after smashing through a few large trees. Northern Qi Eagle, Northern Qi Ju, and the others were dumbfounded. "Heavenly Book? Use the Heavenly Book!" Northern Qi Eagle roared, "Heavenly Book of the Law of Wind!" "Yes, Father!" Northern Qi Ju raised his long sword. Divine runes appeared on the blade. In the sky, a divine power pierced through the clouds and descended. Immediately, the surrounding air seemed to condense. In the next moment, a storm raged around them. The wind blades were like knives, scraping against Lin Muyu's body. "Wah!" Lin Muyu let out a muffled groan. She knelt on the ground. The ground around her was cut open. Her battle armor was desperately gathering power to save her master's life. 10 seconds later, Lin Muyu was riddled with wounds. Her entire body was covered in wounds caused by the Heavenly Book of the Law of Wind. The small valley she was in was a complete mess. The grass had been plucked clean, and the ground looked like it had been cut by a knife. "Heavenly Book of the Law of Fire!" Northern Qi Eagle shouted. One of the guards raised his arm. Divine runes revolved, and the power of heaven and earth was activated. Immediately, a rain of fire fell from the sky and began to burn the pitiful Lin Muyu. The scorching heat was enough to kill. Lin Muyu hugged his head and rolled around on the ground like a wild beast. He didn't know how to resist the power of the Heavenly Book. He couldn't think of anything. The Forgotten Realm was like a curse that imprisoned his cultivation. After the flames raged, Lin Muyu fell miserably in the sea of fire. Northern Qi Eagle laughed coldly. "He's done for. Someone, give me another Heavenly Book of the Law of Earth." A pillar of indigo light rose up into the heavens, and the earth tremored violently as a series of rock spikes erupted from the ground like the gaping maw of a gargantuan beast. Countless rock spikes struck Lin Muyu's body, and he was bleeding profusely as his suit of battle armor crumbled one after another. He was completely unable to withstand this fearsome power. "All right, he's about to die." Northern Chi Eagle said indifferently, "Follow me." When the power of the heavenly book disappeared, the rock spikes turned to stone powder. Lin Muyu collapsed in the stone powder. Northern Chi Eagle walked forward and pulled out the Jianghu pouch from his waist. He reached into the pouch and finally pulled out a golden heavenly book. It was the legendary Fuxi heavenly book. It's the heavenly book. It's the Fuxi heavenly book left behind by the god Emperor Fuxi. I found it. Northern Chi Eagle seemed to have found a treasure. He trembled with excitement. "I found the heavenly book." Flipping open the heavenly book, lines of words immediately came into view. At this time, Northern Chi Ji walked forward, pulled out his long sword, and pressed it against Lin Muyu's chest. "Father, I will finish him off to avenge my second brother." "Wait." Northern Chi Ji flipped to the last few volumes of the heavenly book but couldn't see a single word. He couldn't help but say, "This is a wordless heavenly book. I still have things to ask Lin Muyu. Tie him up and break his sea of energy." Northern Chi Ji smiled slightly. The blade of his sword swept across and pierced through Lin Muyu's sea of energy. Immediately, Zhenqi flowed out. Following that, he used the tough Nihility Ox tendon to bind him tightly. The Nihility Ox tendon was resistant to water and fire. It was a good material for bowstrings, but it was also excellent for binding people. The more one struggled, the tighter it became. It was impossible to break free. At night, everyone set up camp in the cave. They threw Lin Muyu into the innermost part of the cave. After splashing water on him, he still did not wake. His injuries were too serious. Not long after, everyone became drowsy. Outside the cave, the fire flickered. Lin Muyu slowly woke up. He felt pain all over his body. He struggled for a while and then gave up. His state of mind was a mess. Fan Yun said he was a god, but how could a god be reduced to such a state? At this time, a rustling sound came from behind him. It was as if someone was cutting the Nihility Ox tendon binding him. Turning around, he saw a familiar face. It was that little girl, Li Mingye. "Shoo," Li Mingye made a quiet gesture. She then held the little demonic knife that Lin Muyu had given her and slowly cut the Nihility Ox tendon. Fortunately, it was a sharp demonic knife. If it had been any other dagger, it would not have been easy to smoothly cut the Nihility Ox tendon. Patter! The Nihility Ox tendon broke one by one, but the closest guard was only a few meters away. Lin Muyu could not summon up any strength in his body. The remaining Zhenqi in his sea of energy had all been drained. Li Mingye stretched out her hand and pointed behind her. In a small voice, she said, "There is a cave in this cave. We'll crawl out from here. Be quiet, Immortal." At this time, when Lin Muyu heard Immortal, he immediately felt it was particularly ironic. If he really was someone, why would he need a girl who had no strength to truss a chicken to save him? Li Mingye acted as Lin Muyu's walking stick. Supporting him, she slowly slid into the cave. They followed the cave for about 1 or 2 li and immediately appeared on the other side of the mountain range. Immortal were safe. The girl happily spun around on the grass. She waved her hands and feet as she took out the sky heart grass from her waist. "Immortal, I'll give this to you. You need it so much." "No, I'll get it myself." Immortal is so stingy." The girl pouted. Lin Muyu thought of the sky heart grass. Unfortunately, it had already been crushed by the heavenly book of the law of wind. Otherwise, she could have given it to the girl to treat her grandfather. At this moment, a torch suddenly flickered in the distance. The sound of horse hooves rang out. Northern Chi's Eagle, Fan Yun, and the others had caught up. "Hurry up and leave. I'll hold them off." Lin Muyu opened his hands, but he could not summon up any strength. Li Mingye widened her eyes in panic. "Immortal, we can't escape, can we?" The warhorses came very quickly. In the blink of an eye, the people of northern Qi had already surrounded the two of them. You still want to leave? This little girl is really a hindrance. Fan Yun snorted coldly and suddenly opened his palms. An invisible force whistled through the air. Immediately, Li Mingye was caught in Fan Yun's hands. Her face flushed red. She whimpered, "Immortal, save me." "He's an immortal?" Fan Yun could not help but laugh. "He's just a useless piece of trash right now." "No, an immortal is omnipotent." Li Mingye argued loudly. "How annoying." Fan Yun suddenly swung his arms. Suddenly, Li Mingye's body crashed into a distant tree, and there was no sound. Lin Muyu gritted his teeth. A blood-red power circled in his eye. He clenched his fists and roared, "You bastards, why do you want to kill the innocent?" Bang! Fan Yun heavily slammed his palm into Lin Muyu's chest, directly pressing him into the rock wall behind him. The rock layer cracked. Fan Yun laughed sinisterly. "Lin Muyu, you're not a god anymore. You're just a piece of trash. What right do you have to be so arrogant?" As he spoke, Fan Yun raised his left hand. A black longsword, sheathed in its sheath, pierced Lin Muyu's left shoulder, nailing him to the rock wall. Blood splattered everywhere. That longsword was Lin Muyu's stellar sword. "You're a god?" Fan Yun laughed loudly. He opened his right palm, and flames soared into the sky. This palm was filled with murderous intent. Presumably, he wanted to use the power of the law of fire to send Lin Muyu on his way. "Don't hurt him." Behind him, a petite figure rushed over and slammed heavily into Fan Yun's back. Li Mingye cried out and was sent flying by the impact of her battle armor. "You annoying fly!" Fan Yun was unable to restrain his anger. He pressed his palm down and immediately, a chain of fire wrapped around the girl. So painful! The heavenly heart grass in the girl's hand was turning into ashes. The flames engulfed her beautiful face and body, but she still widened her eyes and looked at Lin Muyu on the rock wall. Immortals are omnipotent. Tears flowed out of Lin Muyu's eyes as she let out a cry like a wild beast. For her, there was nothing he couldn't do. Hong! A golden light shot out, and the supreme divine power returned to Lin Muyu's body like a storm. His eyes were slowly plated with gold. At the same time, dragon scales covered in flames flew out from the alternate space and condensed inch by inch around Lin Muyu to form a suit of armor. This was the armor of the awakened Acatosaurus. "Pooh!" Pulling out the long sword from his shoulder, Lin Muyu roared crazily. The stellar sword was slowly unsheathed, and a golden light soared into the sky. "All of you must die." Chapter 628. Heavenly Realm, Pond of Illusion. In the image in the pond, a soul shadow slowly flew up from Li Mingye's body. That beautiful face seemed familiar. She looked at Lin Muyu with a smile. Her gaze was full of longing. Her body was involuntarily sucked into the sky. Ziyao's nose turned sour as she watched. Tears trickled down her cheeks as she said, "If Ayu knew that she was Qin Yin's reincarnation, how regretful would he be?" The seven luminaries' demon emperor's expression was solemn. He said lightly, "You doesn't know that she is Qin Yin. Qin Yin also doesn't know that he is you. Everything is destined by fate. Qin Yin died as a god and has now escaped into the six paths of reincarnation. The human path, the animal path, the Azura path, the ghost path, the purgatory path, and the heavenly path are all human paths." Sigh. He paused and then said, "However, without Qin Yin's sacrifice, I'm afraid you would not have been able to break through to the Forgotten Realm and truly form this supreme destiny." Ziyao was silent. Boom! An enormous dragon crystal with a radius of dozens of meters fell from the sky and crushed a group of northern Qi cavalry. The dragon crystal fell to the ground and created a powerful impact that threw a group of cavalry nearby into a complete mess. Lin Muyu wore dragon armor formed by Acatosaurus. There was not a trace of emotion in her golden eyes. She raised her long sword and suddenly cut through the air. Fan Yun was dumbfounded. He quickly raised his arm. The light from the embryo of the sword shot into the sky. It was an exquisite book of the laws of ice. Immediately, a huge ice shield formed in front of him. Boom! The sword chi cut through the air, splitting the ice shield and Fan Yun's body in two. Fan Yun didn't even have time to make a sound before he was killed. He probably didn't think he would end up like this. Father, let's go. Northern Chi protected the Northern Chi eagle and fled in panic, but how could they escape? In the sky, golden clouds covered the sky. Lin Muyu stepped on the void, and with every step she took, golden god force rippled outwards. In her EC, a golden godhead slowly condensed, and endless god force flowed into Lin Muyu's body. The supreme godhead's god force far surpassed the other 4 grades of godheads, and the destructive power it could produce was naturally earth-shattering. Suddenly, Lin Muyu raised her left hand, and it was as if all the stars in the sky were grasped in her hand. A purplish-red blazing sun appeared in her palm. It was the 6th form of the astral arts, Purple Sun Shakes the Earth. Lin Muyu had been in slumber for 4 years, and the Supreme Sovereign Personality had also been dormant for 4 years. This was enough time for Lin Muyu to comprehend the higher level of the astral arts. The rays of the violet sun illuminated the night as bright as day. Lin Muyu stared at the ground with his golden eyes. At this moment, he was like a god looking at the ants on the ground. All life and death was in his hands. Buzz! With a wave of her arm, the energy of the violet sun fell onto the ground. Ah! The light came closer and closer. When the Northern Chi Eagle, Northern Chi Ji, and Northern Chi Hong turned around, their faces were pale. This was God's punishment for the human world. There was no way to avoid it. Boom! A semicircular explosion spread out on the ground. The energy of the purple sun shakes the earth spread out with a destructive force. The Northern Chi Eagle, Northern Chi Ji, and the others were instantly turned into ashes. Even the ground, forests, and mountains were blasted into a basin. What more these people's bodies of flesh and blood? An abyss with a radius of several hundred meters appeared in the crimson abyss. The 6th form of the star incantation's destructive power was a little too strong. Its power was almost equivalent to a large-scale magic crystal cannon shell, and its destructive power was even stronger. There was no one left alive in this forest. With the recovery of her divine power, Lin Muyu's memories had completely recovered. She murmured, "Xiaoyin, where exactly are you?" The golden divine light around her body slowly dissipated. Lin Muyu shed his supreme beginner god form. The golden light in her eyes also faded. The dragon armor broke down and turned into a Catasaurus. With a howl, it fell to the ground with its master. Lin Muyu picked up her Qiankuan bag from the ground. The things inside were all there. The Northern Chi Eagle did not touch them. He found a white robe from the bag and put it on. He looked completely new. Then he found Li Mingye's charred body among the corpses and ashes. He wrapped it in a cloth. Carrying her body, he leaped into the air and entered the realm of controlling the air to fly. The cloak behind him flapped. Lin Muyu flew faster and faster. There was a boom behind him, creating a sonic boom. This proved that his flying speed had surpassed the speed of sound. However, his divine power was still enough. As he continued to increase his speed, the plane in front of him suddenly began to have layers. It was as if countless blocks had appeared in front of him, allowing him to pass through them. Was this the power of breaking through the void? The power of the 4th dimension? Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, he had already appeared 20 miles away. This was probably the furthest teleportation distance that a cultivator at the 1st level of the godly state could achieve. In the middle of the night, Lin Muyu descended from the sky and landed in the quiet town. According to what Li Mingye had told you earlier, her home should be here. Lin Muyu carried Li Mingye's body and slowly walked through the town. Finally, she met a night watchman. She asked respectfully, "Sir, may I ask, where is Li Shu's home?" "Li Shu." The night watchman raised his lantern and found the 3 shining stars on Lin Muyu's collar. He was immediately scared out of his wits. Those who could have 3 stars were at least high-ranking officials of the general rank. He had never seen one. However, he did not know that Lin Muyu was the Qin king of the 3 kings. Otherwise, he would have fainted. Li Shu, it's the last family on this street. It's the family of Qingmu sect. Oh, thank you very much. Lin Muyu carried Li Mingye's body and walked straight to the house. As expected, there was a house with a green door. Li Shu's leg was injured. He did not knock on the door and jumped into the yard. He knocked on the door of the hut and said, "Is anyone there?" "Who is it?" Li Shu woke up from his sleep. Lin Muyu said, "Li Ming, she passed away. I'm here to send her home." "Ah, my granddaughter." The old man rolled down from the bed and stumbled to open the door. He saw Lin Muyu carrying Li Mingye's burnt body. Lin Muyu was wearing the armor of a high-ranking military officer. There were even golden purple flowers on her cloak. However, the old man no longer had any respect for her. He recognized Li Mingye's face and knelt on the ground, crying. Lin Muyu also knelt in front of Li Mingye's body and said, "Old man, she was a good girl. She was killed by the bad guys to save me. Don't worry. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life." As she spoke, Lin Muyu took out a gold note and slowly placed it on the ground. "This is 100,000 Jinin coins. It's enough for you and Mingye's mother to live for the rest of your life. When I return, I'll send someone to bring you to live in Lanyan City in the capital." "Can this money buy back Mingye's life?" The old man's voice trembled. Lin Muyu's heart ached. She knelt to the old man and said, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't protect Mingye and let her die. For you. My name is Lin Muyu. You." The old man was terrified. "You're the Qin king, Lin Muyu?" "The Qin king? Maybe." Lin Muyu said lightly. "The Qin king. He has ascended to become a god." "Are you a god?" "I think." "My god." Li Sui quickly stood up to help Lin Muyu. "A god shouldn't kneel to a mortal." "I can't accept it, no." Lin Muyu said, "Humans and gods are one. There's no difference at all. Old man, I've wronged Mingye. I hope you can forgive me. I've already killed the person who killed Mingye. I've avenged Mingye." "That's good." Li Sui's voice trembled. "Your Highness, you're the hero who defeated the demons. If it weren't for you, Lingnan would have become the demons' territory. You saved the world and humanity. You don't have to feel guilty about anyone. It's her honor to die for your Highness. No, she didn't have to die for anyone." Lin Muyu bowed deeply again and said, "I'll be leaving soon. Please take care, old man." Soon, the Valiant Dragon Legion will send someone to pick you and Mingye's mother up to live in Lanyan City. You won't have to worry about food or clothing for the rest of your life. "Thank you, Your Highness." The old man kowtowed again. When he looked up, he found that Lin Muyu had already stepped into the void and disappeared in the wind. The old man was dumbfounded. He murmured, "Is that a god?" After forming the Supreme Godhead, Lin Muyu had already sensed that Qin Yin's aura was no longer in the Crimson Abyss. Even her Godhead fragment had disappeared with the passage of time. There was no longer any need to stay in the Crimson Abyss. However, he heard that Tang Xiaoxi was not dead, so the most important thing was to find Tang Xiaoxi and find out what happened back then. Moreover, Tang Xiaoxi's fate was unknown, and that worried Lin Muyu. He still believed that Tang Xiaoxi would not betray Qin Yin, just like how Qin Yin believed the same. There had to be a reason for everything. After finding out from the countryside that Feng Jixing was guarding Lingnan's Sunset City, Lin Muyu flew through the night towards Sunset City. Although flying consumed a lot of divine energy, it was much faster than riding a warhorse. She flew for 2,000 miles in one night, and by daybreak, she was already in the sky above Sunset City. Swoosh! He landed in the city. Sunset City was still the same as before. A group of peddlers selling sesame seed cakes and youtiao stared with their mouths agape at this person who had descended from the sky. Everyone knew that even Saint Realm experts were unable to fly. There were only 2 types of people who could descend from the sky. One was a birdman, and the other was a god. The young man before them was clearly the latter. Lin Muyu did not look at everyone's astonished gazes and went straight to the Sunset Palace. The Sunset Palace was still as glorious as before, but the decorations were a lot simpler. The glass palace lanterns had been moved away, and a group of soldiers wearing the Imperial Guard's military uniforms stood guard outside. When they saw Lin Muyu, they could not recognize her, but they recognized the military uniform. "Sir, may I know who you are?" Lin Muyu pays her respects to Prince Exin, Feng Jixing. Huh! The group of soldiers' jaws almost dropped to the ground. Lin Muyu. Qin Wang. Qin Wang. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.